All right, all right. Stamp of approval, episode 7. I can't even say that it's the most scuffed podcast in the world anymore. We've actually been working on the quality here lately. We're having guests on now, so I feel like it's very disrespectful to call it scuffed. Tonight we have a pretty different guest than last time around, but also another fellow streamer and a guy I've actually known him for quite a while, like several years. I knew of his name, like he was a pretty well-known name in the Street Fighter 4 community, but I never really had talked to him or taken any time to talk to him about anything that wasn't fighting game related until very recently. He's also the guy who came up with the show name. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get him on. It is Blockbuster John. I'm going to go ahead and give him a call right now. And we'll swap to the proper scene. Hey, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, shit sounds good. Let me go ahead and get my scene pulled up here.
Yeah, you caused me right away to look up Audacity when you were talking about the trouble you had. I was like, there's got to be a way to record on Audacity. So I pulled it up right now, but
Yeah, it's because my my Discord comes through a different channel than the input, and Audacity only records one input at a time. So I think you'd have to have multiple windows up to fix that.
you couldn't. That's nothing you could have solved by plugging in. I don't know, maybe routing it to your audio interface. Feels like you could have.
Yeah, I think if the input and the output is the same in Discord, I could do that, but it would probably deafen me, but that's okay. We've got the OBS recording regardless, so this should be good to go. All right, sweet. So, first of all, like I said already, appreciate you coming on. I'm sure, you did say that you work today, so I know that Wednesday night's probably not the most ideal time in the world, but,
Well, I mean, I work Monday through Friday, so it's fine. But it's actually ideal for me because my girlfriend works until usually like 8:30, 9 o'clock our time. So I try not to stream or, for the most part, play games when she's around because I want to be present.
yeah,
I don't want to just be, and my setup's in my living room, as you can see. So
yeah.
that's another reason too. But yeah, so Wednesdays actually, it works out for me.
Awesome. Yeah, Wednesday was a little bit weird for me because I actually started this schedule when I was off Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then like right after we had already hit the ground running with the first couple episodes, I switched to being Monday through Friday, but I was like, fuck it. I don't want to rotate and change things around. Like I just would rather keep the tradition going. So, but
Yeah. And naps are key too. You said you woke up from a nap. Me and my girlfriend have an argument about naps and nap length, and she says like an hour is the max for a nap, and anything over an hour is like a sleep. And I'm like, no,
dude, I was reading
no
some
limits on naps.
yeah, I was reading some shit the other day about how the optimal, scientifically the optimal nap time is 15
Was it
minutes.
15 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what? Where does that come
I saw
from?
that too. It's ridiculous.
I don't think anybody can actually get rested in that time. Like if I sleep for 15 minutes, I wake up more tired.
You're just closing your eyes.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I don't know how long it hits people to fall asleep, unless I'm like super tired.
Yeah.
I can fall asleep instantly. But if I'm like on a break or something like that from work, and I was like, oh, let me take a nap on my break, I fall asleep with a minute left, and I wake up and my alarm's off. Like,
Yeah.
it's not possible.
Yeah, I ain't waking up, and I used to try to do that in retail over lunch, and there were definitely a few times when I woke up with no time to spare, and like, yep, any second now I'm gonna be getting a call from my boss because I lived close enough to the store that I would just drive home and sleep. It was really stupid.
Okay. It wasn't in your car.
No.
Man.
Yeah, it seems like everybody, almost everybody in the community, it's funny, like so many of us have retail horror stories. Like Sick Boy, one of my mods, he did retail for a whole summer as his very first job, and he hated it. I did overnight retail forever. She did retail. So it's like everybody seems to have it.
It's like a rite of passage when you're out of high school, because by the time you and I graduated high school, and I think I'm a few years older than you, but still, they had changed the laws where you couldn't work at 16 anymore, at least in California. I don't know how it was where you were from, but so I couldn't work until I was 18. I couldn't even get a job when I was 17 out of high school, because when I graduated high school, I was 17 still. My birthday isn't until the summertime.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get a job until after my birthday, which is the end of summer. So yeah, it's either your first job is retail, food service. I don't know if you had this company in your area called Cutco. You'd go around selling knives and that shears that cut through pennies.
Oh, no, I've actually never heard of that, but I know that that's definitely one of the other ones, like the door-to-door type thing. Was it where they had the kits where you would demo it?
So it was one of those 3 jobs. So I was a retail person. I told myself I'm never going to work in food.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be a salesperson. But yeah, and obviously, as the name suggests, I did work at Blockbuster at one point.
Yep.
Which is, you know, I'll tell you, it's not a horror story. I'll say this right off the bat. Working at Blockbuster was probably one of the better retail jobs I had. Right next to Staples. I worked at Staples. That was my first job, and Staples was great.
Yeah,
I loved working at Staples. Got fired, but at Blockbuster, are you a fan of the movie Clerks, Stamp, or anybody else in the chat?
Yeah, that's a classic, man.
So Randall says something, and working at Blockbuster, it rang true even more. This job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers.
Yeah, the primary thing you're gonna be communicating with every day.
Yeah, so there was this one guy, and I don't know if you recall Blockbuster, anybody in the chat. They had snacks, and basically it was a movie concession stand there. Like, you could buy your microwave popcorn, your snow caps, your Thin Mints, etc. Ice cream, they had that. So this guy would always come in with grab an ice cream first, eat it while he browses for the store, got his rentals, and he would. I gotta grab something to demonstrate this. He would always come up to the counter with his movies. He'd drop his movies. Here's my phone. Drops his movies. And then out of his tightly fist, he would do this with the ice cream wrapper. And I fucking hated this guy. I fucking hated him with every fiber of my being. Like, what an asshole.
Yeah, he just wanted to assert dominance. I've dealt with customers like that where they'll purposefully open things and make messes just to make you clean it.
Yeah, and I understand it. Like, at least he's not stealing it, but it's just the attitude in which he did it. So one day, this was 07, 08, the biopic about George W. Bush came out. The president during our time, was called W, starring Josh Brolin. And the way Blockbuster was set up was older movies were categorized by genre and in alphabetical order. Newer movies was the Wild West on the wall, just around the wall of the store, and they're always in alphabetical order. So he came in panicked. It was a Friday. I think the movie came out that week. Panicked, in a panic frenzy. Do you guys have the movie W? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what section is it under? And I looked at him for a second.
I wonder.
Like, it was, I'm exaggerating the second, but it was within a matter of milliseconds. I said, it's under D. So he walked all the way to the D section, realized what I had done, made it a point to walk back in front of me, give me a dirty look, and went all the way to the W side and grabbed the movie.
Man, it's funny, working, just the phrase "I worked at Blockbuster" is something that so few people nowadays. I feel like it's such a foreign concept, like working in a video store and just the quirks that customers would have. Like, on-demand video was something like my first experience with on-demand video was asking an adult to call someone to order a movie off of like Showtime or Stars or something like this. Yeah. And that's what you used to have to do. So like video stores were a necessity before that type of industry or business model even existed.
No, definitely. And, something key to those too was video games.
Oh, yeah.
And the rentals. And I don't know if you looked into how I think game developers at a certain point would make games harder so you can go back and rent them some more. I didn't know what their agreements were with video stores back then, but that's messed up, man.
Oh, I'll tell you, dude, what's messed up is I knew some friends in grade school that had binders and binders and binders full of PS1 games because we had this mom and pop place where you could rent, that. Obviously you can't burn an N64 cartridge, but like CD burning had just come about, mod chips had just come about, and they were like, dude, check this out. And it was just like, that thing people used to have in their visor in their car where it's just CDs as far as you could see of all these different games. Like, and I was like, damn, how'd you do this? And he was like, oh yeah, we just rent the games and we copy them. Like, they were all ready. So this whole conversation we had about used games in like 2013 or so, dude, that shit was happening in like the year 2000. People had already figured that out.
Mm-hmm. Crazy stuff. They must have had a field day when it was the Dreamcast era.
Oh yeah, you didn't even need a mod chip. You just straight burned that shit, didn't you?
Do you follow Modern Vintage Gamer on YouTube, or do you watch his stuff?
Yeah, I've seen his
Did you
PS2 stuff.
did you see his video that came out recently about the Alien? Oh my God, what was Alien Resurrection? Was that the one with Sigourney Weaver and Winona Ryder?
Yeah.
So they had a PlayStation 1 game. It was one of the last in the era. It came out in 2000. He found out, or somebody found out, and let him know that is basically, that disc is a test disc. So what you can do is you can put a code to put it in test mode, open the top tray for the PS1, and put in any burn disc you want, and it would play.
Yeah, dude, there was an exploit like that with Twilight Princess too on the Wii. Like you would just have to run to a certain spot. Yeah, you would just run to a certain spot and like void out, and then it opened up the exploit in some way, and then that was how people would mod their Wiis in the very, very beginning. Soft modding.
I don't remember. Was Wii standard size disc?
Yeah, it was normal size.
But it played the GameCube disc too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, that kind of we kind of already started getting into this, but that was actually something I was going to start by asking you. Like, what are some of the games that left an impression on you when you were first starting to get into that, or when you were first starting to get old enough to understand how to play games and actually progress in them instead of just kind of looking at them?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because so my parents are 15 years older than me. So you can do the math. When I was 3, my dad was technically legally an adult.
Yeah.
So he was a young man and he was into video games, and they had Atari, they had a Nintendo. But when I was 3, I distinctly remember the Sega Genesis. And I remember playing Sonic, and it was the old Sega Genesis, the one with the it was the left and right switch with the gray reset button. It wasn't the small compact one that they released a few years down the line. But yeah, so he always had games, and I always played games. And then we'd go to his friend's house, and my dad was like into Magic the Gathering, and he'd go play Magic the Gathering, and his friends had Super Nintendo, so I'd play those games. But it wasn't until we went to his friend's house, and this kind of like sparked my infatuation with fighting games at the time. And his friends had Mortal Kombat, and I was like, what is this? And Mortal Kombat, for a little boy, especially, when did it come out? 92. I was 4 years old, 4 years old at the time. It's insane. Like, you guys could not comprehend the hype that game brought. And then it was just, I played Street Fighter from there. I played, I don't know if you remember this game, Primal Rage. So I really liked fighting games at a young age. Yeah, Primal Rage was the shit. We had Eternal Champions, which I've recently been revisiting that, and I was like, damn, this game is just ridiculous. Clay Fighter for Super Nintendo.
Yeah, there was one of the rarest games on N64 is a Clay Fighter.
Is it really? Oh, the Clay Fighter. I remember that one.
Yeah.
What else? Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct was amazing back then. So, we would go to arcades. And then, I got to a point where I got old enough. And when I say old enough, I'm like 6 years old. And I get like my own Genesis, and I get Street Fighter 2. And I would literally sit there as a 6-year-old and look at the instructions manuals, which is something I miss about gaming, is instructions manuals.
Yeah.
And look at how to do the moves. I would color in the pictures of the instructions manual because it wasn't in color. And I would just play every character in the game and beat the game with every character. And then the point was, I was like, I just want to beat my dad and all his friends. And at 6 years old, I was beating my dad and all his friends. So like they couldn't beat me then. And it was just, but yeah, man, earliest memory is just with my dad and Sega Genesis, and then going to his friend's house and playing all their games. And it kind of just set it off for fighting games. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I know there was Jordan actually just said that was a Blockbuster exclusive Clay Fighter. That's funny.
Really?
Yeah, the N64 one. It's like insanely rare. Like the guy, John Hancock, who has like one of the most impressive game collections in the world. He's like one of less than 10 people in the continental United States that even know of a copy, and he actually owns one because he went to a Blockbuster that was shut down and was able to grab it before they closed.
Whoa, that's crazy. That they still... Wait, was this in the era, or did this Blockbuster just still happen to have that copy of the game?
It was like, he's an older guy. He's like, 48, 49. So it was like 2002 or 3. So they were kind of on the way out at this point. Like, video stores were kind of going the way of the dinosaur at that point. So he probably was just scoping out places that were doing like closing sales.
I can tell you definitively it wasn't that year. It was like 2008, 2009. The dawn of Street Fighter 4 was the ending of video stores.
Yeah, and also that was around the first time I remember hearing one of my friends, because I was always a PlayStation household. Like we had a PS3, and you had to do this shit where you had to, I forget if it was like a send away, but you would have to fill out an online form, and they would mail you a Netflix disc that would give you access to the app. But 360 owners, they just were able to just access it if they had Xbox Live Gold. So in 2008 or so, yeah, I remember.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I remember one of my friends was like, dude, you can just turn on Netflix and you can just watch all this shit in HD. It's crazy. And I was like, no way. Because YouTube even was fairly new. And yeah, when I saw you could do it on both PS3 and 360, I was like, well, why would anybody do like the DVD service of Netflix even anymore? So
one of the, you just reminded me, one of the best things about working for Blockbuster was you had a 15% discount. So I was getting, first of all, we'd get games and movies early. But I was getting games before Street Date and like the Ultimate Edition. So I had the Steelbook Resident Evil 5. I had the deluxe edition of Street Fighter 4. Same thing with Devil May Cry. Was it 4 with Nero?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was 4.
Devil May Cry 4. So that was great, like with the discount and everything. And then the exclusives that they had too, that you can wear as an employee. Like, are you familiar with Cloverfield, the film?
Yeah.
So I mean, I loved the hell out of that movie when it was coming out because I thought it was such a unique concept, a monster movie done through found footage. I thought it was great. So they gave us like these exclusive shirts that only Blockbuster's employees had that I don't have anymore. I'm kicking myself that I don't have it anymore, but it was some really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's man. It's like that. A lot of people that talk about working at GameStop in the late 90s, early 2000s, like they would ship out these standees and this promotional stuff that you just could not find anywhere else. And like if you have those kiosks, those PlayStation signs, there's like a super valuable thing I remember, and nobody probably thought to even hang on to these things, but it was like one of those lenticular displays where you move it and the picture changes. And on one side, it's like Final Fantasy 9. And on the other side, it's the Bouncer, which was Square's very first PS2 game. It's like a beat 'em up game. And that thing is worth like thousands now. But back in the day, it was just a little, decorative thing that they sat on the desk and didn't give two shits about.
Yes. Another one. I don't know if it's been popping up on your YouTube feed, but From Sauce horror game. You know what I'm talking about? I forget the name of
Kuon?
it. Yes. Yeah. That's been popping up everywhere. And apparently that's worth thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, dude, PS2 horror especially. Atlas is they're known for not really doing reprints. So in the PS2 era, there's only 2 games that I know of that actually got reprinted, Odin Sphere and Guitar Man, because they kind of exploded in popularity after the fact and the companies were like, fuck it, let's press more discs. But outside of those 2, they did not do that type of thing back then. And horror was not that popular outside of, unless it was Resident Evil or Silent Hill, it was not popping off like that. So, I mean, those horror games just kind of flew under the radar. So now we have Kuon worth thousands of dollars. We've got Rule of Rose, which was an even more exclusive Atlas game. And like Haunting Ground, physical copies of any of those 3, especially the North American versions, are insane right now.
You know, it's a recent one that I just recently found out about. And I remember the game and I'm just kicking myself. Like, I mean, I would have never played it, but just like in hindsight, it's 2020. That Godzilla game for the PS4. Do you know about that one?
Oh yeah, that it was like universally reviled, but it's super rare now. Yeah,
it's like worth thousands of dollars. It's not even just like $1,000. It's thousands of dollars. That's how rare it is. If you look it up on eBay, people are trying to sell it for like $3,000.
Yeah, dude, it's even more insane now because there's digital games that have been pulled off the store. Not to make everything about Silent Hill because everybody always blames me for doing that, but there was that PT, that playable teaser that Kojima put out.
I have it.
Yeah, my dad still has a PS4 with that loaded onto it, but if you delete it, it's gone forever because like they delisted it and they were even sending cease and desists to people that were trying to sell PS4s with it loaded onto it as like an additional value. Konami was hitting people with cease and desists. It's crazy.
I'll tell you this much. In my lifetime of owning a PS4, I've gone through 3 PS4s. Not that they've like died or anything like that, but I've just upgraded. So I had the OG PS4 with PT on it. And then I upgraded to the Pro. And for the life of me, I was scared, like, oh my God, I got to transfer all this data over. Like, how do you do it without losing PT? And there was articles on how to transfer the data over without losing PT. but I did it to the PS4 Pro, and then I have the PS4 Pro 500 million right now. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
like that translucent blue one with the gold accents.
Yeah.
So that one is sitting right there with PT. Um, and I have a PS5 now, and everything's transferred over to the PS5 except PT. You can't transfer PT to the PS5.
Yeah.
But if I ever want to sell, which I'm not, but if I ever want to sell that PS4, it'll be worth a lot since it's the 500 million and it has PT.
Yeah, dude, you should stream that sometime because like there's definitely very, very few. I only know of an Eternal Enigma who streams the actual Sony PS4 version because there was a Unity remake that got done a few years ago. So you can
remember that.
Yeah, you can play a port that's like most of the way there, but the PS4 version is obviously way more polished. Like it's not super long or anything, but every single time it pops up and someone's playing the real version, it usually gets a lot of traction. So I would love to check that out because I haven't seen it in like I can't believe it's been 9 years since that thing dropped, but 2014.
It's probably like ever since I played it, and I'll tell you that I'll preface this right now, I've never beaten it.
Yeah.
But it is probably my favorite horror game of all time. Only for the simple reason that you can't shoot anything. You can't defend yourself. So to me, that's like a true horror game. It's not a survival horror game. It's a horror game. Like you're living this what's this this dizzying nightmare of hallways and corridors with something that's coded to be behind your back the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's just so good, and it's one of the great what ifs of gaming that I'm just so mad at Konami. Not even about a Metal Gear as much as that. Like that had so much promise.
Oh yeah.
Even though that wasn't going to be the final game, but it was
Yeah, it was
so
like
good.
even as a proof of concept, and it's crazy too to see how influential it was. If you look at that hallway that's in PT, it is like 1-to-1 with the hallway they ended up going with in Resident Evil 7, where you first encounter Jack. Like it's the same hallway.
I was gonna say if that game hadn't come out, I think we wouldn't have had the current Resident Evil 7 that is out now. I think we would have probably maybe had a continuation of 6. Maybe we would have got Jake's story, but who cares about Jake? Nobody likes Jake. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. I think it's funny how Capcom has just completely disowned RE6. Like they don't even promote when it goes on sale or anything. All the images that they choose are from like 7 and 2 remake. Yeah, Dr. Red likes Jake, but well, Dr. Red, you're part of a very exclusive club, my man.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, was it Ashley that was in 6?
It was Sherry, right? Like a grown-up version of Sherry.
Oh, sorry, Sherry. Yes, thank you. Yes, grown-up Sherry. Oh my God, yeah, that game. I mean, I guess that was a good way to end it. But here's the real question: do you think they'll remake it?
Honestly, I don't think so because 5, it kind of wraps that bow pretty tightly in terms of the story continuation from 4, and especially what they show at the end of Separate Ways with Wesker.
I like 5, and yeah, Separate Ways is so underrated. Like everybody like forgets that without 5, there would be no not Separate Ways with Ada.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one with Chris and Jill in the mansion? That was an expansion of 5.
Oh, yeah, wasn't that the DLC?
It was the DLC, yeah.
Yeah, Lost in Nightmares or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called, but yeah, Lost in Nightmares.
I like 5. Like Pitt says that's like the worst Resident Evil. It's not the worst one.
Yeah, well, Pitt, he loves to like get into arguments about what's better and what's worse, but it's like, dude, he just says things as if they're definitive fact, and I'm like, man, Resident Evil 5 is a drastically different game depending on whether or not you're playing it single or with another person. With another person, I think
I always argue it's meant to be played with another person.
Yeah, dude, the enjoyment factor, I think of anybody, even as a casual player, goes up at least 2 or 3x if you're playing with somebody else, because like that's what it was designed for. The levels are fun that way. I just think it's much better. Like if you're playing solo, you're reliant on AI. Yeah, it's gonna feel like a shooting gallery because that's how it's designed. But if you got another person, you can strategize, and there's all kinds of other ways to play it.
Dang, Dr. Red played it solo.
Yeah, he played it solo, but to be fair, there's very few people still playing on console. Most of the people that still do it are on PC.
Yeah, my cousin and I played the hell out of that game. And we, by accident, figured out the speedrun hack to kill Wesker in the final boss stage.
Oh, shooting his the thing on his chest?
We didn't know. We didn't know. We just had, and it was the point where we've played it so much at this point where we were just like, yeah, we're just gonna plow through this game with infinite rocket launcher. And I shot him, and then like we got credits, and we were like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that they put stuff like that in. I mean, they just did it with the remake with the gold egg thing. Because there's there's the side quest for anybody that doesn't know where you throw a gold egg at a portrait of Salazar and it's, it gives you a reward for it. So if you take the very same gold egg, or I think there's 2 in the whole game, if you take the gold egg into the Salazar fight and you hit him with it, it does like 75% of his life bar, even on professional. So I love that they still throw stuff like that in. It feels like, with all companies moving to hyper realistic animations and everything else, it feels like that's pretty rare these days.
Yeah, I was actually watching the speed run of AGDQ. Somebody was doing that, and they are doing that gold egg strategy. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome that's there.
Did you see that Code Veronica remake is leaked? I mean, it's a 4chan leak, so it's like, who knows? But hey, the Smash Ultimate Sora leak thing turned out to be real, where the dude was like, hey, I work at Disney, and someone from Nintendo, a representative from Nintendo, just called us asking for a license for music, and that ended up being, the music they used in the Sora trailer. So some 4chan leaks have validity to them, and this guy claims to be a Japanese QA tester, and he's like, yeah, they have us testing very early, like alpha versions of the intro of Code Veronica, where she's in that facility being chased by all those guys and gets captured at the end. That apparently is going to be the demo that they're going to release soon.
What's the guy's name in the game? I forget his name. Steve?
Yeah, fucking Steve.
Is he still going to be like cringy and
dude, honestly, it all comes down to his voice actor. Like, if they hadn't chosen such a whiny, nasally actor, I feel like he would have a much better reputation. But it's like the way he talks, the way he's so obviously Canadian.
To hit on Claire. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's cringy, but it's like the voice acting didn't help it any. Like when he says sorry all the time and all kinds of other shit.
You know what? That aside, though, I think to this day, it bothers me the psycho aspect of the antagonist of that game, where he is his sister. Like,
yeah,
I was like, oh my god, the Ashfords, right? The Ashford twins.
Yeah.
I played that game on PS2, so I was like, and I only played it once and never wanted to play it again.
Dude, I played it recently and I was like, I don't think this would fly nowadays. Like they basically made such a mockery of this dude. They made him out to be completely insane because he was trying to play like both the brother and the sister. And I was like, dude, if they put this out nowadays, I feel like they'd get canceled. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they would have to do something different. Although the only thing I would want to see from that game is the Bandersnatch, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's all I'd want to see.
Norman Bates reference. I mean, honestly, the way he talks and the way he acts, yeah, I could totally see that, Dr. Red.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. Or you know what also reminds me too of like hint, and I don't know if this is what the writers were going for at the time, but hints of Buffalo Bill too from Silence of the Lambs, just the way his mannerisms were in those cutscenes. I was like, he's kind of like Buffalo Bill when he's got that girl down in the well in his basement.
The Goodbye Horses dance, because every time he's on screen, it's like this weird like xylophone childish music, and he's like all performative and really feminine in some ways, and so yeah, it's definitely got a little bit of that vibe going on. Really weird game overall, though. I think Code Veronica has some of the weirdest shit in it,
and it has potential too. Like if I'm thinking about it from a remake aspect, like the beginning part in the graveyard, like that could be interesting. Like how they redid the first House in 4 remake, like they made it scarier. So I mean, it has potential, but at the same time, that game is a lot of what I don't like about Resident Evil. As I've gotten older, which is it's a lot of being in a science lab.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. It would probably be a completely different game.
Yeah, I think they're going to change a lot about it. And honestly, that's how I feel about RE5 as well. Like, dude, there's already been, oh, sorry, your call just disappeared. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's already been articles. Like, I saw an article the other day, and to be fair, it is a bullshit clickbait website, but I already saw an article that's like, RE5 is too racist to remake. And I'm like, oh, dear God, we're really going to spin this up again.
Dude, I saw that have you played The Last of Us Stamp?
Yeah.
The first one?
Yep.
Did you watch the show?
Did not watch the show, but I saw that there was controversy, but because they made changes. So
No, that's so. What I saw when they were talking about the show initially before it aired was, do you remember Henry and Sam, the African American brothers?
Yep.
So this article, I forget what website it was from, was claiming that it was going to be racist to have, a black character do what they did, and not only was it really good in the show, it was actually better than what was in the game. So, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but it was really good. It was like, I went back and watched people's reaction for it who'd never played the game. I was like, oh,
yeah,
man.
Dude, Last of Us, I've made it very vocal that I don't care for Last of Us 2, and it's nothing to do with the characters in the game itself. I think the game is extremely well made, and obviously, like, Naughty Dog is what I would consider to be like top notch in the industry in terms of attention to detail, animations, and all these different things. I just don't like deceptive fucking marketing where they digitally altered Joel's face to make him look like significantly younger to trick everybody into thinking he was going to be more involved in the game so that you would buy it. And then you come to find out that what happens. Again, no spoilers, but he's certainly not very involved in the game. I'll just put it that way.
I had who was this guy? I had a similar conversation to somebody about that. And my deceptive marketing or not, I think the problem with the game is the way the story structure was laid out. Did you play it at all?
No, but I did watch a lot of people play it. I mean, I saw basically the whole game.
Yeah. Oh, then Ken brings up a good point too. The MGS2 switch.
Oh, dude, that would never fly nowadays. Some motherfucker on Reddit would be like, I work on the development team and this is not going to be Solid Snake. Like, there's no fucking way a bait and switch like that would fly nowadays.
To be fair, for Konami and Metal Gear and Kojima for that time, they only showed us footage from the tanker.
Yeah.
They didn't show us anything else, save for maybe one Metal Gear Ray.
Yeah.
But yeah, the problem with The Last of Us, deceptive marketing or not, isn't even that. It's the way the story is set up. And I've discussed this with other people, and I said, if you switch this around and switch this around and you had this play out first, I think people would have been more receptive to the game. So I'm hoping they learned from their lessons with the show, because they've already outright said that it's not going to be the same as the game, because I think Neil doesn't want more controversy.
Yeah, Last of Us 2. So, well, we were actually just talking about this in the Discord a few months ago when the show was new. It's like video games as a medium cannot translate to TV 1-to-1 because there's no gameplay to fill that space. There's no exploration. There's no traversal. There's none of these things. You have to fill space elsewhere.
Side quests.
Side quests. Yeah, there's no side quests and people were upset because they filled in the space for like Bill and his partner. It's like, what else were they supposed to do in that episode? Like,
first of all, they won an Emmy.
Yeah.
For their performances. Second of all, I particularly didn't care for that episode as much as other people like raved about it. I think the Henry and Sam episode should have had more praise and more eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what they did good in terms of like changing something, and it goes to your point saying video games can't be 1-to-1, was the beginning of the game with Sarah.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're watching the show, that first episode is focused on Sarah, and it's filmed and directed in a way to make you think she's the main character.
Yeah.
Just like how when we played the game, or when everybody, I don't know if you played it,
mm-hmm.
or you did play it, right?
Yeah, you start playing as her. She's the first character you play as. Her.
How do you translate that to a visual format where you're not interacting with it?
Yeah.
You film the character as if they're the main character, and then the gut punch happens, and that's why the first episode works as a good translation of video game to film. I think like it worked really well. I don't know if you've seen it, Stamp. You should just go watch that first episode.
Yeah, I'll definitely check the show out, but it's like I just remember so much outrage over the Bill episode specifically, but even if it wasn't done particularly well, in my mind I'm like, what other options did they really have to flesh that out? Like, that sequence is not incredibly long. It's mainly comprised of him giving you the nail bomb and a shotgun, and you just go and get the engine or the battery in the school. Like, there's not a lot that even happens. Like, that gameplay portion is over in 1 to 2 hours, and that's mostly made up of gameplay. So what else could they have even really done? Like, they didn't really have too many options to get that into a full episode.
No, and then the direction they did was, I think a lot of the other controversy too is a lot of what the game was about kind of flew over people's heads. Like, remember how when Last of Us 2 came out, they were talking about woke this and woke that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you guys must not have played the DLC to understand that Ellie's a lesbian.
Yeah.
Like, so your woke arguments are null and void. Bill in the game is gay. So yeah, I think that's also what upset a lot of people. They probably weren't paying attention or putting 2 and 2 together when Ellie's got the magazine. Like, why are all these pages stuck together, and throws it out the window?
Yeah, and not only that, the Left Behind DLC, just in terms of the part that really stuck out to me was like when they're playing that arcade machine with a broken video monitor. That part was done so fucking amazingly well, and I didn't even give a fuck about that. Like, that was completely secondary to me. That whole the arc, obviously, until the end, but it's like it was just done really well. Like, it was just kids being kids, and it was done extremely well in a way that you understand kind of where she came from, why she was talking about this girl the way that she was, that type of thing. So, it's never going to translate 1-to-1, and I'm sure when they do season 2, there's going to be even more changes, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, but I like, just to comment on what Salt was saying. I love part 2. I think part 2, as what Stamp says, is in the game, is better than 1. Even compared to the remaster, like functionally as a game, part 2 is better than part 1. As a game, say what you want about the story. That's all personal preference. I happen to like the story too. But I'm also the same guy who likes Last Jedi because it just pissed people off.
Yeah. Well, it definitely subverted expectations. I think that was Disney's official, their summation of that whole sequence of events is, well, we subverted expectations. Good job, everybody. Golf claps all around.
So I will say, I'm not even trolling. I really like The Last Jedi. The one thing I hate is Leia flying in space. That was so weird. But I think they have the best chase that they've ever done in Star Wars ever, with that slow chase, and then they hit hyperspeed, and then the way was it Rian Johnson who directed it?
I believe so, yeah.
The way he did like the ship going through the other ships in hyperspace, I thought that was so cool. I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I've rarely in my lifetime seen, except maybe the last Harry Potter movie, and this is just for my generation of like people that grew up with this. Like, there were people in my class that were literally the same age as those 3 actors. So like when the final Harry Potter movie came out, it was a huge deal. Yeah, when The Force Awakens came out, I think that's the biggest like movie event that I've ever seen in my life. Like, we had a line. We have a local theater that's like 6 miniature theaters inside. Every one of them was screening it, and we had a line that like wrapped around the whole parking lot. It was raining that day. Nobody gave a fuck. They had like ponchos and umbrellas. I've never seen that in my life. It was crazy.
For me, I think it was still Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
Endgame was, yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't know too much about that, Dave, because I was a little bit too young, and like my dad was never too gigantic. Like, instead of watching, I forget which one it was. I think it was Attack of the Clones, came out around the same time as Kill Bill 1 or somewhere in that neighborhood. He went and watched Kill Bill 1. He didn't give too much of a fuck about that. So, like, they didn't. My dad was very clear that Phantom Menace was shit, and I agreed. But I will tell you one thing: the pod racing game that came out on N64 was fucking sick. I played the shit out of that game.
Really, the only thing that's good about the prequels is Darth Maul. And Darth Maul's in one movie for like probably 30, 40 minutes of entire screen time.
Yeah,
probably one of the best fights in the whole series, though.
Oh, yeah, I really liked Revenge of the Sith, too. I mean, I understand it makes no sense how he just like lets himself get manipulated and shit. And it really is just like comes out of nowhere, and he has no emotions about it. But I just, as a little kid, I mean, I was like 2005, so I wasn't even 11 yet. I was 10 at this time. So when I saw that fight at the end just blew my mind. So
Revenge of the Sith would have been fine if Darth Vader didn't scream no.
Like, yeah, cut that shit out, man. Yeah, that's so bad.
Even then, it's like oh my God, this is gonna be a meme, and I didn't even know what a meme was back then. Like,
Yeah.
that was the joke of just Darth Vader on his knees, and
Yeah,
no,
like movie quotes I feel like were the original meme because I used to watch a ton of Who's Line, and even in Who's Line, like they would constantly reference Luke, I am your father, the Scarface, say hello to my little friend, like all those movie quotes. I never knew where they were from. So once I started figuring out what they were from and watching those movies, like, it's the same stuff that people reference now, but Matrix Reloaded, I do remember as having an incredibly long line. But I mean, I'm of the opinion that if Matrix ended after the first movie, it would have been very, very well regarded. But I think 2 and 3, especially 3, was just so shit. Like it was so bad.
I didn't get to experience this, but apparently the last Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, people went ape shit over.
Well, because it had all the actors,
3 of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool concept, but like I hate saying this because I'm 29. I'm not like pushing 50 or anything, but I just feel like I'm too old to get that excited about a damn Marvel movie. It's like, dude, it's gonna be more CGI. It's gonna be more quirky. He's right behind me, isn't he? Like quips, Joss Whedon style quips, and it's like I don't have time to get excited about all that shit 40 times a year. Like I got stuff to do.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Marvel movies, and I always say this, is they just kill off their villains.
Yeah.
Like, the most recent Thor movie, I think the only bright spot of that movie was Christian Bale, and they killed him off.
Yeah, everybody, dude, everybody was showcasing how horrible the special effects are for that. Like, there's a part where Natalie Portman's helmet, it just like digitally slides off of her head and back onto it. Like, you're paying these dudes multi-millions, these VFX departments, and you missed that. How did that even make it past like the planning stages of that shot?
I cut them some slack because it was probably during COVID / early post COVID.
Yeah.
Like when I saw Wonder Woman 84, I saw it on my home television and it looked like shit.
The fucking running part. Yeah. I've seen like, there's so many compilations of horrible video effects and like where she's running after that truck and oh my God, it's so bad.
So I'm like, if I was in the theater seeing this on a massive screen, it probably wouldn't bother me. I probably wouldn't even notice it as much, but, yeah, I cut them some slack, but now, like, since we're like beyond that, like, yeah, CGI has got to be better. I haven't seen it yet, but Godzilla -1 looks fucking amazing. It got nominated for an Academy Award for visual effects.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Dave. There was no way they weren't going to milk the Matrix train. Well, yeah, it's like, dude, every fucking internet, like even at the time, this was 1999 when that movie came out, like the internet exploded with like, I remember the very first mod I ever experienced was a Max Payne Matrix Neo mod where he would like dive even further and he had like the trench coat and the sunglasses and everything and the enemies were agents and all that kind of stuff. So
it's the first game with bullet time.
Oh yeah, that dude, I just recently played Max Payne 1 at the end of October. That still holds up really well. RIP to James McCaffrey.
Just last month.
Yeah, last month. I mean, I hope that now someone this was like a YouTube comment that somebody caught, but someone recently reached out to remedy like one of their most recent trailers for Alan Wake 2 that they put out, and they hinted that they may still have the actual tapes from the original recording sessions in lossless quality, so they may be able to restore those for the remake. I really hope they can, because you cannot replace a guy like that. Like, his voice is way too recognizable.
Dude, AI has actually gotten so good. Have you... Yeah. YOLO Slides, when he streams, he has like channel points. And did you ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you remember the episode where Fred Armisen is like from Argentina or something? They go visit Pawnee, and if you could pull up the clip of him, but anyway, YOLO Slides has it on his stream where he has the 9 stream commandments, and it's all AI. Fred Armisen speaking. It caught me for a second. I was like, wait, is this an uncensored version? Then I listened to it more. He's like, oh, he's talking about the stream. So it's AI.
Dude, it's getting really tough to discern. And I see all the time these streamers that are like, oh, AI will never take over. It's, it's just, you can still tell that it's fake. It's like, man, I would give it another 6 months to a year, given some of the clips I've heard. Like, people have already tried to make fake accusations, like the whole Dream stuff that recently happened, the Minecraft YouTuber or whatever. Like,
that was AI?
Yeah, people were like generating.
I didn't know that was AI. I thought it was real.
No, they were like generating AI voices that sounded like him, like moaning on a Snapchat video, and they were overlaying that on top of them opening a random Snapchat from somebody. Like, it's going to be in the next couple of years, especially streamers. And I mean, I wouldn't even consider myself a streamer, but for fuck's sake, I'm on camera in 4K 3 times a week at a minimum. So I'm just feeding, whatever algorithm with as much data as it needs to effectively make a replacement me here in like 6 months to a year if somebody were so inclined.
No, like one of my favorite things that AI has been doing for me recently is the president's tier list. Have you been watching those?
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
watched any of them?
Yeah,
Those
the
are so
Metallica
good.
albums. I love them rating Metallica albums.
Yeah. And then say what you will about Trump and how you feel about him. That guy provided a lot of content and comedy.
Oh, dude, the memes were out of fucking control. Like you couldn't
Yep.
breathe on any social media in
fast food
2016.
presidential dinner still like ranks as top for me.
The Clemson Tigers win the championship, and my dude literally stacks double quarter pounders and fucking wins.
Yep.
And he's just, it's funny because, people are like, oh, that's disrespectful or whatever. But the team didn't have any issue with it. I just thought it was the most American thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that being said too, on the other point of the presidential AI stuff, that's also scary because then it's going to get into like this political thing, and it's going to be insane. AI is crazy. I don't like it. I don't like the trend of like Tesla and Nvidia trying to do AI driving.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because my fear isn't even necessarily that. My fear is cyber attacks on that.
Mhm.
To say you got like a Tesla and you have the full AI model when it's like more competent, and then Tesla gets hacked, and then you're in your car, and then you're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, they already didn't they implement a security feature that if your not if your vehicle is stolen, but it's like if you have, they're already considering this at Tesla. If there's an issue with your registration, your license is expired, or anything along those lines, they will literally, the car will pull itself over and wait for a cop to arrest you. Like they're already testing. Yeah, they're testing this right now to where, they're hoping that it'll reduce crime rates. But it's like, that is some dystopian shit. Your car will literally stop working. If you let your license expire by 1 day, your car's like, fuck you. You're done. Pulling over, waiting for you to get arrested.
And then, yeah, Dave, NVIDIA is looking into that, and it's not even a secret. They have it on their website and everything. The other thing to that point, though, Stamp, that you're saying about the Tesla arresting you,
yeah,
I think that's so weird because that would actually have to mean that Tesla would have access to the Department of Motor and Vehicles database. Like, would the government even allow that?
I would say yes. It seems like something that, now this is just my perspective from somebody in the Bible Belt, admittedly, but it seems like New York and specifically New York City and Los Angeles are the two like test regions for the crazier dystopian stuff. So I feel like this would be something that they would like test run in LA or something along those lines, where it's like, hey, we'll see how it works here and we'll get access to these records.
I think San Francisco, somebody just got run over by an AI taxi cab.
Yeah.
Or was that New York? I can't remember. It was one of those places.
Dude, San Francisco is wild because, that's where Twitter's headquartered. And somebody posted a video of them walking to work, and it was like people just hunched over, like high as fuck on fentanyl, and just groups of people that you have to wade through. It literally looks like post-apocalypse right outside of this very wealthy Twitter headquarters building.
I'm 20 minutes from LA, man. I see it all the time when I'm out there.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. But something that we both, like I said, we've got a long history with FGC stuff. Mine was much more as like a spectator sport, mostly online, but I was always a stream monster. I was always watching all the events. But you have a lot of experience in person with the Wednesday Night Fights crew and Super Arcade. And I was it named something else before Watson took it over, or was it always Super Arcade?
No, it was named something else. It was called, oh my God, I might have to look this up.
It wasn't Family Fun, was it?
No, Family Fun was in the Valley. So the way SoCal setup is Southern California. A vast majority of it is LA County. I live in LA County.
Yeah.
I live in I'm probably 15 minutes from East LA proper. I'm in what's called the San Gabriel Valley, which is actually considered by most Asian Americans to have the best Asian food outside of Asia.
Oh yeah, weren't you talking about being in the land of pho, or was that somebody else? I feel like somebody.
It might have been somebody else, because the land of pho is Westminster in Orange County.
Oh yeah.
Which is about 45 minutes from where I am.
Yeah.
But no, just primarily Chinese, like just a lot of Asian food, Taiwanese, Chinese, Korean, like where I live is just a really good area. I actually sent Pitt a DM on here of the Bros. Do you know who they are on YouTube?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, so they're talking about New York and LA, and they're actually like, dude, just San Gabriel Valley is better than New York's
Yeah.
entire Asian food. But yeah, Super Arcade in Walnut was called. Oh my god, I can't find it right now.
Yeah, because I remember actually when that takeover happened. Like everybody was basically waiting for Watson to get the ownership rights handed over to him, and like I wouldn't say the deed, but like, you know, the business license and everything. And the logo changed to like the cobra or the viper, whatever it was, the snake logo.
I can even text Watson and ask him right now.
Yeah.
Watson for a long time lived down the street from me.
Yeah, see, that's what's so cool. Yeah, that's what's so cool about talking to you, man, because you see, on the East Coast, dudes like Alex Valle, Mike Watson, John Choi, they're like legends. Like, we never saw those dudes unless it was like a special occasion. Like, I think the furthest east that during Street Fighter 4 most of them would go was like UFGT, which I think was Midwest or like Chicago, Detroit, somewhere in that area.
Chicago area, actually. Yeah. I'm gonna put this link in your chat. You can pull it up on stream. That's a Red Bull article about Super Arcade, and
I got it.
One of the pictures. I'm in one of the pictures.
Mike Watson has spent years keeping hope alive in Southern California. Yeah, because I do remember also, you know, he kind of did a stream where he was talking about, you know, he actually got on camera and he was talking about like, you know, people like us are the only ones that even want to continue running arcades, and it's pretty rare to even see that nowadays.
Yeah, but I forget the name of it, but yes, Super Arcade was called something else from its original location. It was right across the street from a community college there called Mount Sac. We used to call it MT Sac as a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you scroll down a little bit more, I'm in that picture right there.
Is this you?
Red on his shirt. That's me. If you scroll a little bit to the left, there's Bushin Style.
Oh yeah, I see him right here. Oh man, Bushin Style.
Yeah, Bushin Style right there. Watson is sitting down. BJ Unchained is on the mic.
My dude's got a NVIDIA Shield shirt on. That's how you know this is dated. Is that a DDR cab right there?
Yep, they had DDR. They had In the Groove, which is actually one of Chris G's favorite games.
Dude, Pump It Up is sick too. That's like the Korean copy of DDR, where it's the corners and the center space. That shit is sick.
Yeah, but so it was something else before Watson took over, like around 2012, 2011. But prior to that, I played well, first of all, I'll just give you the whole rundown. When I was working at Blockbuster, there was this guy who would come in. His name is Marlon. And, you know, we were talking about Street Fighter come out. He was like a cool guy. Like, there was a lot of people I befriended at Blockbuster. The Blockbuster I worked at was in Pasadena, California. Pasadena, California is a semi-rich area. You being a fan of Horror Stamp, Matthew Lillard lived there.
Oh, from Scream and yeah.
Yes. I'm a fan of one of his films called SLC Punk. When I met him for the first time, I was so disheartened because he was dumb. He was dumb.
Yeah.
Dude, his wife is the worst.
Yeah, I've heard that. One of my friends who I used to go to concerts with frequently, he loves going to like horror fests of all different kinds, and Matthew Lillard's always there with like the Scream crew, if they're ever going to be there, like Nev Campbell and all that. And everybody has bad things to say about him. Like, they say he's a dickhead. He doesn't remember anything about his movies. It just is not a fun experience to go meet him.
It seemed like that. So he came in and he wanted to rent Air Buddies for his kids. His kids were with him. He's like, "Can I rent this?" And he's dangling the video in front of me, and it has a big price tag for $19.99 on there. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is the purchase copy." He's like, "Oh, where's the rental copy?" They're right next to each other. It's like, you just had to. But his wife is the worst Stamp. It was Halloween time. It was 9 a.m. She's like one of the first ones in the store, and we had horror movie trailers playing. They weren't even loud. She's like, "Can you lower it? You're frightening my child." And I look in her stroller. Her child's dead asleep.
Yeah. Like, oh, it sounds like it's frightening you, but yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, Marlon, introduces himself. We get, to know each other. And then we talk about Street Fighter 4 is coming. I was like, "Yeah, you should come over to my place. Like, I know a bunch of people that are really good." And, me thinking that I'm good. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'll beat them all."
Yeah.
I go in there and I get my ass kicked. But I still like hang out with them. Everybody's cool. That's actually where I got my name from, because they had another friend in their crew named John.
Oh, so they had to differentiate and call you the Blockbuster John? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's where the name came from. And the rule is if somebody gives you a name, you can't really change it
Yeah.
unless it's something like offensive. So then they took me to Arcade Infinity, which was like the place to go in SoCal. That was the first place, one of the first places in America to have an arcade cabinet of Street Fighter 4.
Yep.
And Arcade Infinity, man, it was loud. It was like you would leave that place with your ears ringing. And it was just so cool. Like the lines up, like you talk about people lined up to watch Force Awakens, like that's what it was like at Arcade Infinity for Street Fighter 4 back then. Like people were lined up, quarters were there. It or tokens, I should say. It was insane.
Yeah.
And they had all the dude, they had Typing of the Dead there.
Yeah. Oh, it was a real cabinet.
It's like, yeah.
Oh, damn. I didn't even know they made one. But dude, Japan makes cabinets of everything. They have some of the sickest cabinets over there that we like never see in America.
Yeah. So like Arcade Infinity was like the place. And then this LAN center by me opened up called Dream Lab. And you can find Dream Lab tournaments online. Dream Lab became like the second spot outside of Wednesday Night Fights, because Wednesday Night Fights back then was in a garage.
Yeah.
It was in a garage from somebody. Have you played with Bori Kuda?
I've definitely seen the name. Yeah.
He's another 8-on player that plays on PC, but he knows this guy whose garage it was. His name was Shiggle BMX. He was a Blanca player in SoCal. So he would let Valle come in with his level up crew and they would do Wednesday Night Fights. And back then, Wednesday Night Fights was a community harvesting thing where they wanted to bring up player levels and bring out talent. That was like the main goal before it was kind of like a tournament. So you had to, in order to play in like the pro tournament, you had to literally rise up the ranks and get promoted, kind of like the Tekken ranking system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Funny enough, though, my first tournament ever was against Valle, and he beat me so bad that he told me after the tournament. This is a different Valle too, by the way. This is before Valle can see the potential of what FGC was.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you should just quit, and I was like,
yeah.
So the whole motivation that kind of got me going was just to, like, fuck you, Valle. I'm not gonna quit.
Yeah. That's perfect you mentioned that. The very first Street Fighter 4 related video I ever watched, I don't know how I stumbled upon this, but it was Valle in a garage doing a Ryu tutorial in 2009. And you could even see the Justin TV like monkey logo watermark in the bottom right the whole time he's talking. And the thing that he said that made me want to play the game is he's like, there's all these people on the internet that say Ryu's easy in this game. He's cheap. You can just win with him. And he's like, unless you're me, you don't know what you're talking about. Unless you're John Choi, you don't know what you're talking about. Unless you're Mike, like he was listing off all these SoCal Ryu players. And I was like, I love the way he explained it as, yeah, anybody can grab a fight stick and throw a fireball. Anybody can do these things, but you can't win unless you really know a lot about how this game works. And I love that concept of a character that's easy to pick up, almost impossible to master at the highest level.
Yeah, funny enough too, when Street Fighter 4 came out, he seldomly used Ryu. He started with Bison.
Yeah.
You can watch his whole Evo run, I think, and he's using Bison. And then Goken. So the first time I ever played him, he was using Goken. And but yeah, so there's Dream Lab. I actually saw a guy get stabbed there. It was just a LAN center. A guy got stabbed there over, I mean, he was just being an idiot, but he was in a gang, and the way they got him was genius. He was sitting at his like station like this, playing League of Legends, or sorry, he was playing Han, Heroes of New Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so like my door's behind me, so he's like my orientation, so people are behind him. Some guy came up behind him and just started socking him on the head. And then he's in a gang, so his option is, I'm gonna go defend myself. He got up and chased the guy outside who had his whole crew waiting for him. So he got set up, he got beat up really bad and stabbed. So I remember that pretty vividly, because that was the day they're like, no more Street Fighter 4, and nobody was even playing Street Fighter 4 that day.
Yeah, because it's like if fucking fights and stabbings are gonna break out over Han, like a game where there's one-on-one competition and people are going to inevitably get pissed off.
This was not related to the game at all. This guy was in a gang, like an actual gang. I remember they subpoenaed me to go testify, and the trial wasn't until like 7-8 months later, and the
Yeah.
cops came like, do you remember what these guys look like?
No.
Like, dude, it's like 5 months later. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are late to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was Dream Lab, and then around that time, Arcade Infinity was also closing down. So we had Round One. Round One is kind of like Japan's answer to Dave and Buster's. It's actually a Japanese company.
Yep.
Really cool place. They had it on Nessica system, but they didn't have Nessica cards, so it was their Round One cards.
Yep.
And that's where we'd play for a little bit, and that was cool for a while. Then Mike Watson took over Super Arcade, and then Vi partnered up with him, and those Wednesday night fights. So everybody got better. I just feel very fortunate to be competing around that time, because I honestly didn't start playing online until the last years of Ultra Street Fighter 4.
You guys are so lucky with that too, because like online for that game was a completely different game. It wasn't even the same. We weren't competing on the same terms. There was no real footsies. There was not really any reactions. It was all read based. So like the experience of playing somebody in person is totally different.
I will say Vanilla's online netcode was good though. I remember that. I remember I somehow got matched up with Shiro Abel in the tournament. How Vanilla had a tournament ranking system. Did you know about that, Snap? There was like,
it was
weird.
It was like a GP point system or something online where there was like a ranking system.
Yeah. So it was weird. And to get promoted, you had to play 3 matches, and when you win your third match, you get promoted. Well, my third match was against Shiro Abel, and I'm in SoCal and he's in Japan, but it was fine. And at the time I was on Wi-Fi too, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
like,
oh dear God, man.
The netcode was good, but the netcode for Vanilla was good. I don't know what happened from Super on.
Yeah, I wish I knew, because Super on PS3 was my first experience, because like I said, I didn't even own a 360. Street Fighter 4 was the game.
Same.
Street Fighter 4 was the game that got me to buy a 360, because I was like, this shit sucks. Everybody's on Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi chip in the PS3 is god awful. Like, especially the launch ones. It was just miserable. Like the delay, it was easily like sometimes quarter to half second delay in your inputs. So I was like, fuck this. And I got a 360 arcade, and that changed everything. I was actually able to compete. It ran way better, way smoother. No like baked in input delay, none of that shit.
Yes, Stamp. I will say I played Vanilla on PS3 too, and I think it was just whatever they did with the netcode for that game was better than what it was afterwards. But I had a PS3 too. Do you remember the great PS3
2011?
hack?
Yep.
So during that time, like, I can't play online. I was like, okay, I'll just go to the arcade. I'll go to Round One. I'll play there. Like, that's what I did. And we had AE too. We had AE at Arcade Infinity in Round One. So we'd go to one of the two places, and when one closed, the other one was open later. I think Arcade Infinity was open later, so we'd be playing there. So I knew about Yun and everything before I think you guys at home on console had it, because I know it came out some months later after Arcade. So yeah, I didn't start playing online until like 2013 to 2015.
Yeah, wasn't there a not like a beta version, but I know that they could basically update the Vuelix cabs with AE, and when you ran the update initially for Arcade Edition, it did not have Oni or Evil Ryu. It was just Yun and Yang originally. Yeah,
so I actually know about that. There's a video, one of Gootecks' old videos. You could find it, maybe, if it's still there. When the guy, what was his name? Ken was the owner of Arcade Infinity. Capcom released a code to unlock Oni and Evil Ryu. And when Ken got the code, I think he broke Street Date, because he wasn't supposed to do the code, and I think he got in trouble for that. But yeah. Yeah, so we had Oni and Evil Ryu early too.
Yeah, because I remember there's like you were talking about with Gootecks and Mike Ross, there's an Excellent Adventures where they're talking about a cheaper version of AE that was actually going to be side by side instead of the two cabinets up against each other. I don't know if they ever ended up releasing that, but like that actually could have brought back a pretty fair resurgence of like just sticking a cabinet anywhere it would go. I feel like I obviously know it wouldn't have been as successful as the Street Fighter 2 days, but if they had them in malls all over the place, if they had them in movie theaters, because I know our movie theaters got like one of those shitty little arcades with like the Fast and Furious cabs and the Buck Hunting or whatever the fuck, like they always have the same things. But
dude, Buck Hunt was one of Eris's favorite games, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Eris worked at Super Arcade during my time going there. I even
Yeah.
worked at Super Arcade a couple times too. Um, I ran. If you go to Super Arcade's Instagram, I took over it for a while in 2018. So all of their posts in 2018 was me, or most of them. But yeah, like somebody said it. Ken said it, I got to spar with legends. That's worth telling your grandkids. Like I was fortunate, dude, because we're in SoCal. It's really close to Japan. So whenever foreigners had to come to America, like especially Japan, they would be in Southern California. So if they're coming for Evo, we knew the Wednesday night fights before Evo was going to be crazy.
Yep.
It was, and it always was. It was like I was arguing with Shadow Ace about this. Shadow Ace is somebody I commentate the Untamed Gaming tournaments with. That we Southern California basically had a major in Wednesday night fights every year around Evo time. I remember Ryan Hart was there one year. Um, who else was there? Michael Tan was there.
Ken player.
The
Very good Ken
Japanese game
player.
player. Yep. Mago was stranded in Southern California for a while, and I forgot who he was living with, but he was basically in Southern California for a month and a half before Evo.
Because he lost his passport at a tournament.
I don't know what it was. He was just stranded here. So I don't know if maybe he missed his flight and this was early Mad Catz days.
Mm.
But yeah, it was insane. I remember Super Arcade was hosting a virtual fighter tournament, and Fudo and Irizan are two of the best virtual fighters players in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They're flown out to be at the Super Arcade tournament. All of us went to go play them in Street Fighter 4. I didn't get to play Fudo, but I played Irizan, and we went because he was just doing 2 games with everybody who played, no matter what, win or lose. So we went 1-1, and I asked him, like, oh, how was I? And he's like, oh, very strong. And it was 8 on Geef. And I was like, oh, that's all the Snake Eyes training. Chris T had a really close set with the Fudo there. Like it was, we could just do that back then. Like it was crazy.
You know, Gootecks has talked about this a lot too with Third Strike, and that shit was going on in 2004. There's a great, one of my favorite videos is him talking to Yi Wang 5-star, who was a very well established, like he ran a lot of tournaments in SoCal at Family Fun, and he was a strong Ken player as well. But they're talking about how like they had Sugiyama and they had Daigo and they had all these guys there before Evo 2004. They ran a tournament there, and like KO and Sugiyama were playing each other, and they were like, this felt like the World Series, and it's just in our local arcade. Like it's just so cool to be able to, because that's so exclusive. Like there was only one place in America where that was happening, and you guys just happened to be there. So for us on the East Coast, we were always super jealous of that. Like when the Japanese dudes flew out, when the Korean players flew out, that's where they went. They went to SoCal. Oh, yeah, I probably should hydrate. It has been a very long time without doing it.
Yeah, I had to hydrate because he redeemed your channel point. He got 2 for the price of 1.
He needs it, man. He's almost out of points. Shit, man. I don't know where my cup is, but whatever. I'll hydrate here in a sec.
So that was the fortunate thing about being in SoCal. I still maintain that outside of like particular players, the West Coast during that era of Street Fighter was the second strongest region. Not like, you had your one-offs with like a Wolf Crone in the Midwest, or et cetera, et cetera.
Dominion and NLBC crew.
And Smug.
Mm.
But I think it was proven when they had NLBC versus Wednesday Night Fights at Evo that we were the stronger region. And there's a picture. It was on Kappa, which I don't know if you know the drama about Kappa. It's gone now.
I didn't know it was gone, but I knew that there was some very toss pushing stuff going on there.
So Kappa, the guy who was modding Kappa, the main mod, just shut it down, shut everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't brought it back. So Kappa is now reborn in Cappuccino. But I remember this post particularly well, and it's all of us Wednesday night fights, and after the victory, and we're all like together, all of us, like I'm there, Chris King is there. He was like, all of us were going to be on the team, but it was up to Watson and Maya to pick the 5. So Chris T, Filipino Man, Mark Teddy. There's a bunch of us. There's a picture somewhere. Like my Twitter banner is that picture, I think. And then it shows NLBC, and it's Arturo, Smug, Dominion, Sanford, and Zeus, and they're like just five of them kind of separated apart. And someone in Kappa said like this is the difference between Wednesday night fights and NLBC. It's went on to say like they're individuals while they're like a team.
Yeah, you guys
yeah.
always, like to me and my friends that were into Street Fighter, Wednesday night fights always seemed like more of a, it was more of like a community gathering that happened once a week than it felt like an actual tournament. Because you see all these dudes playing casuals in the back. It's like, this is just a strong, tight-knit community of dudes that are all trying to improve. It didn't feel like I was watching a tournament. It just felt like I was watching an arcade hangout, which was actually cooler. You know, I liked that vibe.
I still argue like from a viewer's standpoint, NLBC was easier to watch because Via and Level Up, they were all about that dollar. And there was a lot of ads. There was a lot of breaks. Like we'd be there at 6, 7 o'clock. And we weren't going home until like 2, 3 in the morning. A lot of us had to work the next day. So that's the one thing I loathed about it. Plus they did all these games. Like NLBC was primarily Marvel or Street Fighter, and that's it. But we had like Cross Tekken, Street Fighter 4, Marvel, Killer Instinct when that was a thing, Mortal Kombat. We had all those games, and they all top 8s had to happen around the same time. So it took a long time. So I always preferred to watch NLBC, but if you had to ask me where I'd play, I'd still play it Wednesday Night Fights.
Yeah, yeah, NLBC for a long time was just called Big 2, where they would just have Marvel and Street Fighter 4 on stream when it was AE and AE 2012.
I remember that. I forgot about that. I remember it now.
Yeah, so that was when I really, I mean, the first event that I actually ever watched live, which this is hilarious looking back at it now. This was back when Spooky was really nervous on stream, and he would just repeat his name a million times. He would just say, hey guys, I'm Team Spooky. Check out Team Spooky here. Team Spooky. It's like just all the time he would just say his name. Canada Cup 2010 was the first one I ever watched live. And yeah, they had like Mago and Daigo both flew out. They both were using those those big ass original model Mad Catz TEs. Like I think they had just gotten picked up at the time, or maybe they were in talks to be sponsored. I know Daigo was the first player under Mad Catz. And the crazy thing about that final is Daigo switched to Guile, and Mago did like this random chicken wing, and he just jumped back and grabbed it out of the air. And I remember seeing that live and just watching the chat explode. And I was like, this is so sick that you can actually watch, because, you know, before that, I'd hear about this stuff in like forum posts of people being like, oh, if you guys have never been to a fighting game tournament, it's the coolest thing ever. It's like now we can actually finally watch these live. And that I think that's Street Fighter 4's popularity coincided perfectly with the technology of live streaming becoming watchable and becoming something that people took seriously enough to make it a job. Like, Spooky was the first guy who had the audio routed correctly. Like he had
the technical side of things and streaming. Like if there was no Spooky, like the quality that people have now, it would not even be where it is.
Oh, dude! Like I remember, it was a little bit later. He
was an expert guy.
Yeah, it was a little bit later that year. I forget which tournament it was. It was either super early 2011 or late 2010, but he showed like his console, and it was like 6 monitors. Like he had all the back end information of like the bit rate going to OBS and all these different things. And I was back then it was actually XSplit. OBS wasn't even out yet. And I was like, damn, this guy is like this actually makes it feel like we're there. Like we've got commentators. This felt like a real sporting event. And the only time I had experienced that before, as dumb as this sounds, was like the MLG Halo 3 live streams. That was the only thing that rivaled like the production quality of what he was doing.
I actually got to go backstage this past Evo because I commentated 4.
Yeah.
And one of the things was you had a meal voucher. So the meal voucher was backstage. And that's where the production was. So I saw Spooky sitting there doing the production. The commentators are also backstage. They're not live. Everything's being watched on a monitor. You can't see the commentators when you're at Evo. They're all backstage. Yeah. And they're watching everything on a monitor. So it was interesting to see, and just to see like the level of production. It really probably is. I don't even want to say close to. It's probably like a sporting event now, and how they broadcast.
Yeah, because
it's crazy.
Yeah, one of the main things I noticed is now they're live switching between PA and stream for the mics and the commentators. Like on the fly, they can have the commentators' voices coming through the PA system. Like it's a You know,
Oh, yeah.
like it's a 3-point shooting contest or something. Like you actually hear them over the loudspeakers now, and
Yeah, you hear them there. You can hear the commentators, you just can't see them.
Yeah, it's just it was so sick to see the growth of that, because I was super young at the time, but I was like, man, like this is the future for real. Like watching Street Fighter 4 that way was so addictive. I didn't miss a tournament like all of 2011 or 2012. I watched every single one, and it was so awesome to be a part of that.
Even before that for me, so Street Fighter 4 came out 2009 on console. So my routine while I was still working at Blockbuster, because 2009 was the last year I worked at Blockbuster, was, closing shift, go home, watch YouTube of like the latest Japanese arcade uploads, and fall asleep. And you could still find some of those uploads in 240p, but man, those things were awesome to watch. Like, just it was the formation of YouTube and what YouTube could become, which it did become. It's probably surpassed that now. And then, Justin TV at the time, it was the other one, Ustream.
Ustream did have Evo 2011 was the last big event that Ustream hosted. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So Ustream, I remember they hosted a tournament in SoCal called House of Cicada. Cicada is a photographer and, former fighting game player in Southern California area, but he had a house in Moreno Valley, which is a ways away, but it was an invite thing. So Marin was there, Kino, a bunch of the SoCal top players, and they're playing. But this so happened to coincide with the Laker game, and it was that Laker game where, and I remember watching the Laker game and watching the stream on my phone. It was the Laker game where Kobe hit the game-winning shot over Dwayne Wade. So all you hear via in the background goes, "Oh my God, fucking Kobe hit the game winner right now."
Yeah, where he shot it long, but it bounced off the backboard and went in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was that game. Yeah. So it happened that same day, and it was just funny to see that happen. And obviously there's a delay by about 2 minutes or something, but it was crazy. Like the time back then was, I don't know. I look back on it fondly, and it's probably like, to me then it's like so awesome, but probably going back now, I'm like, oh, this is shit.
It was the dark ages in a lot of ways, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just like the fascination of all this stuff going on. Like Evo was in Vegas, SoCal had SCR, NCR. Well, obviously, California had SCR, NCR, the two big ones. And, New York had some tournaments. And then, of course, there was like UFGT in the Midwest. There was like Devastation in Texas and all these different tournaments. Like, just seeing all these regions and all their strong players. Usually this stuff would be, like
Devastation, Gootecks versus Mike Watson. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that
one. The sound is cut off, but on the live stream, because Watson and Gootecks were feuding back then.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the story? Do you know of this story?
I watched I Play Winner, and it's kind of insinuated, wasn't it, like Gootecks and him were kind of competing to be like the people that were the promoters and the ones that were running events or anything like that, or no?
That's not even what happened. No, but I give Gootecks all the props in the world for as a polarizing figure as he is now. I still know Gootecks on a personal level. Gootecks I'm cool with. But Gootecks is the guy that had the foresight of what this could become. So without Gootecks and Dogface and Mike Ross, like, the FGC isn't what it is right now.
Really, really quick, I wanted to mention this. It's so crazy that you just said that. Gootecks streamed recently, and someone in his chat made a comment that is so fucking wild, because yes, he did predict that. There's a clip of him in I Play Winner talking about players being sponsored, and this is like super, super early. This is like
I think
launch week.
It might have been in I Got Next, Justin's little bio.
Yeah.
Do you know about the documentary? Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the other things Gootecks predicted. In one episode of Excellent Adventures from 2013, he talks about Bitcoin being the future. And Mike Ross is like, dude, you won't shut up about Bitcoin. What is your obsession with Bitcoin? 2013, he was ahead of the curve on that shit by like 5 years. He was right about Street Fighter 5 destroying the FGC, because he was saying early on, this game is not up to snuff. This isn't going to work. He was right about that. There was like 3 or 4 other things that people had mentioned that he predicted basically perfectly about, the community, how things progressed and what happened. And, I agree with you. Like, he's polarizing figure now, but he majorly saw, what was going to happen. And he definitely called things correctly in a lot of ways.
He, took one of the early, that was his job.
Yeah.
There's if you can go and search the Arcade Infinity Ranbats that we had back then, and he would commentate them. Gootecks had such a fan base back then, right? These were uploaded to YouTube Stamp. They weren't even live streamed. He at one point he's talking because the commentary is funny. You obviously know the Tiger uppercut video, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny commentary. They're just talking shit. And Gootecks says, if you guys want to send us pizza, send money to blah 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 blah. And the next week, the guy he's commentating with is another SoCal player. Goes by the name of Sanchez, and he's like, "Oh, here." He's like, "Here's some money." He's like, "What's this?" He's like, "Oh, remember when we were talking and I said send money when people send us money?" He's like, "Here's money for you." He's like, "Is that all they sent?" He's like, and he said Gootecks didn't say anything after that.
Yeah, he didn't want to let the cat out of the bag on that one.
Yeah, but so yeah, the feud between Mike Watson and Gootecks was Watson used to have a cab in his house, and he would invite players to show up and play. And it was Mike Watson, Hung B, a lot of like his crew from like the Marvel days, the Third Strike ST days. And he was basically wanted to see what the new generation was about. So like there's a famous story of Kino basically thinking he's good, and Watson and all his crew just like fucked Kino up. And that kind of just like set Kino on a different path. Because if you ever get a chance to play Kino Stamp, Kino does not have fun playing the game. Like he has fun playing the game, but when you play him, it's like you're always playing it in tournament.
Yeah,
Like
there's
always,
nothing casual or fun about it. It's always dead serious.
No, he's casual and fun about it, but his play is dead serious.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Kino has that kind of motor, and I think it's because of that. But anyway, Gootecks went over, and then I guess he had a streak on everybody, beat Watson, and he's like, "You guys think blah 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 blah. You guys just don't know. You guys just don't know." And Watson took that to heart. So when you go back and watch that Devastation match, and he just beats Ryan with just the fundamentals and basics of Sagat, at the end of it, you can't hear it. You can hear the commentator say it, but when you watch Devastation live that year, you can hear Mike Watson yell at him, "You just don't know." And
Yeah.
he made a T-shirt that says "You just don't know." I have one of the original T-shirts.
Yeah, one of the funniest clips. I love that about Watson. He doesn't give a fuck. But one of my favorite clips of him was SoCal Regionals 2010. They're asking him questions. I don't know how this even got brought up, but Darkside Phil. Yeah.
Oh, because he went to Evo. Darkside Phil is an FGC person originally.
Oh yeah, wasn't? Oh yeah,
just like Max.
That was that. Max. Yeah, that was that fucked up 2005 Evo where they had to run it on like PS1, and it was a fucked up port of
the third, like the anniversary collection of ST.
Yeah.
PlayStation 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Won.
And DSP was like 5th place, and he
something high. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said the only other players on top of me were Japanese, so I was the number 1 ranked Super Turbo player. And Watson just grabs the mic and he goes, "Yeah, there's some fucking idiot named DSP who's a complete piece of shit, by the way. I'd like to get that on video." And John Choi is just like, "What are you doing, man?" And then somebody in the crowd's like, "Bro, he's got 20,000 subscribers." And he goes, 20,000 idiots are subscribed to him? That's really cool. That dude did not give a shit.
Nope. I mean, you can watch old videos of Watson from the 90s, and there's a tournament of him. He's like a young man in Chicago, and then somebody yells at him, "You suck," and then he turns around and he responds, "Your mom's."
Oh man, that's it, dude. I wish, we don't really have much video of that time, understandably, but like there's still you can get like the Evo DVD. You can watch the Evo DVD stuff from like 2002 and 3, and I think even Evo 2000 is on there, or when it was called B3. I think that was the last year it was called B3. And you can see like Mike Watson and John Choi playing each other in the finals of Third Strike, and it just has like these player photos and they like clash into each other. Then the video starts. Dude, people had no fucking idea how to play that game back then. Like they're playing it like it's Street Fighter 2. They're throwing a bunch of fireballs.
It wasn't until Japan came, and that's that famous team tournament, US versus Japan, that really kind of just like, oh, this is how you play this game.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite videos ever with Gootecks talking to 5-Star, because they're like, Urian was like, this character sucks. Like this reflector thing, completely useless. This has no purpose in the game. And then they saw Tokido just setup after setup, destroying Justin Wong and just, hitting headbutt, the TTH, tackle headbutt combo and all that stuff, charge partitioning. And they're like, damn, we don't have a fucking clue how to play this game.
No, and that one was so they had their first one where the US team got destroyed, they got demolished. And then they had the next year where it was they knew a little bit more, and then they threw an Alpha 3 too. And Alpha 3 was a little bit more competitive for the US. And then I think you never got a chance to see Bang the Machine, huh?
No, didn't that footage get lost in 9/11?
It got lost in a fight in a
Yeah.
fire, yeah. And 9/11, yeah, the original. But during Super Arcade's tenure, I think the original directors came and dropped off some original footage, so we got to watch it at Super Arcade at one point. But that's when they flew the American players out to Japan to get them in an exhibition with Super Turbo, Third Strike, Marvel. I think that it was just those three games. The US only won Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, US was always known for that. Like, I don't remember. I mean, there was like Kusaru or Ageo Joe, but I don't remember any other prominent Marvel players from Japan, really. Like, that was always a US game.
Because they played weird characters like Anacris and stuff like that when
Yeah.
America just realized Magneto Sentinel broken.
Yeah,
Use
top
that.
tier. MSP, fucking top tier. It's the classic Sanford. If you want to win, just fucking pick a top tier. As they're walking down the street to go to Chinatown Fair or whatever. Him and L.I. Joe. But yeah. Yeah, that's I definitely think that's one of the coolest things because, even though I was a part of it as a spectator more than anything, it was just cool to watch that progression over the years because the idea of a partnered Twitch stream, I think Level Up Live was one of the very first partners ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're pulling in viewers. Spooky was pulling in viewers, and then obviously Evo when they got into it. And then Capcom way later. Like everybody kind of forgets, Capcom really didn't hit it off until they started taking more ownership of their game.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from Evo being streamed exclusively on Evo to like now top 8 Evo Street Fighter or Capcom games are on Capcom stream.
Yeah, did they still do it on ESPN for Evo? Or was that just
No,
a
no,
few
it was
years?
just that 1 year. It was just
Yeah.
that 1 year, and then I think it was Fudo caused some controversy because he picked
Costume.
the regular Mika costume.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
dude, that year was actually insane because like actually let me take it back because Evo's insane, Stamp. All right. The first year I ever went to Evo, I was 20. Oh my gosh. I was 21 or 22 my first year I ever went to Evo. And no money. I drove a Volkswagen Beetle that had no business even making it there.
Yeah.
My car could have died, but I just went. I just went because I needed to go. Literally had no money. The money I had that I made back was, well, first of all, I gambled all my money away in one night. I was hitting black on blackjack and I had so much money. I was like, all right, it's got to go red now.
Yeah.
And I went red and lost it all. And that's when I learned never go against a streak.
Yeah.
So the only money I got back from that weekend was the hotel reservation fee that I got back. So I was like, okay, gas money.
What's up, sick?
But dude, that Evo, my first Evo was my favorite Evo because it was 2010. Every pool was 129 person. And my pool had Ryan Hart, it had Neo, it had Wolf Crone. Like my pool was one of the like top 3 stacked pools. And then the second year Evo, I went to Evo every year up until 2018 is the first time I didn't go. And then I didn't go 2019, 2020. Obviously, I went back to 2022. So I've been to 11 Evos already. But if you get a chance, Stamp, I just go. It's Vegas. You don't got to compete, but you get to check it out. You get to see the vendors. Now it's even crazier. There's a full-on arcade there. Everything's on free play. You can play whatever you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Evo is almost like the fighting game version of E3 nowadays. Like, we get new game announcements. We've got all these booths where they'll do like custom engraving on your sticks and things, and they'll sell you sticks and all kinds of really cool vendors just trying to showcase their art and 3D printed stuff. So I love that it's kind of evolved into a place where it's basically just like a fighting game convention now.
Well, that's the cool part about it. A lot of the older guys, myself included, like there was something about old Evo that. Sorry, my dog's walking around. What he's doing? What's up, dude? He's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" Um, there's something. Let me see if you can see him.
Yeah, I saw him jump down and said, "What is going on over here?"
So, anyway, there's something about Old Evil which is really great. Was that if you had your pass, everything was done in the ballroom. There was no arena.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a trade, like how it is now, except in a ballroom. And then the last day, all the ballroom stuff was gone. Like all the trade show stuff was gone, and the ballroom was lined with chairs. And it made grand finals more hype because not only were you on the same like level as the stage, you can walk up to the front and just get as close as you wanted to get. I remember my friend got second place at Marvel 3, Ultimate Marvel 3 the first year. My buddy was in for it.
Oh
It
yeah,
was when
LXG
he
and
lost
Frit.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost to Champ. Um excuse me. But there was something crazy about that atmosphere that's really lost with the arena finals now. Like, don't get me wrong, the arena finals is cool. One of the perks I got for commentating Evo this past summer for Street Fighter 4 was I had a free arena ticket. I gave my arena ticket to Zaffarino. Like, if I didn't know somebody, I was gonna sell it, but I knew Zaf, so I was like, "You just take
Yeah.
it." He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, just take it. I'm not gonna go. I don't want to go to the arena finals. I have no interest in that."
Yeah.
It's like going to a concert like Coachella and watching the band you want to see on the screen. It's like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, and isn't it Mandalay Bay that they do it out of? Or is it?
Yeah, yeah, it's Mandalay Bay, but this year is going to be somewhere different.
Yeah, and I kind of agree too, because I loved in the earlier Evos, like the stage was right there. Like you could, and you just see like crowds of people. It really, it kind of emulated on a larger scale that feeling of going to an arcade and like the player who's just absolutely, streaking, building up and just doing all this shit that people have never seen. And everybody just naturally starts to crowd around them because they want to see what they're doing. It kind of emulated that on a much larger scale. So it felt more tight knit, even though there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, the I think I don't know. I might be mixing up Evos, but the Evo I did the best at happened to coincide with my dad being in Vegas. So I got my dad in, and he got to like check it out, and he's like, "Oh, this is really cool." He got to see Killer Instinct before it was out, so it might have been a year or two before. Um, but yeah, and then I remember, okay, the year I did do the best at, that was the year Jamie Lee Curtis was there.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis was there. I remember she was like walking by in her Vega mask with actual real freaking claws.
Yeah, because
What the hell?
she's like a huge retro game. Like she's got a bunch of photos of like Super Nintendo stuff, and she's big into Street Fighter 2 and everything.
Yeah, her son is too, or daughter.
Yeah.
No, excuse me, sorry. And her daughter was dressed as DJ because she is a good friend of Black Skills.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
The Wednesday Night Fights DJ player.
yeah. So yeah, she was there dressed up as DJ, rooting for him. But yeah, the year I did the best at, I got top 64. I could have gotten top 32 if I didn't lose to Thrill House, a Buki player. And then I lost to Snake Eyes in my regular pool.
Yeah, that guy. I don't think outside of Zangief in very very early Street Fighter 4, I don't think there was another Geef on his level, especially toward the end of Ultra. Like there was Itazan, and then there was another Japanese Geef that was really really strong. He like almost beat Daigo's Evil Ryu once.
Twix knows his name.
Hagejin. Yeah, his name was Hagejin. He was a fucking beast, but it's like he never really traveled, and we didn't see Hagejin in the States too much. But yeah, in Japan, he was like right there with the top of the top. So
yeah, so that was the year I did the best. Was the first year of Ultra. I got top 64, and then the year I beat Mago was the next year. And that kind of carried on a tradition of SoCal beating Mago.
Yeah,
I sent Mago to losers, and SD Panoy, another SoCal player, eliminated him. Mike Ross beat him at
he beat him at Wednesday Night Fights once too. Mike Ross beat him in a grand finals match. I remember watching that when Mago was stranded.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. And then it also carried on the tradition of Mago not making top 8. And at that timestamp, he was the #1 ranked player in CBT because he had just won the back-to-back tournaments in Malaysia and
Singapore. Did he also won Southeast Asia majors? Was that in Malaysia?
It was. Okay. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Seam. It might have been Singapore, and he won a European tournament.
Yeah.
So he went into Evo number one ranked player and lost to me.
Yeah, I remember it was a big like conversation piece, but he was talking to Air one time at one of the Canada Cups, and Air knows, he lived in Japan for long enough that he was able to translate. And he was like, Mago told me that he has like the worst stage fright of all the Japanese players. Like when he gets up, especially CEO, he hated like the boxing ring. When he got up on the boxing ring and he could like see the projector and knew that there was like 25,000 concurrent viewers, like he hated that shit. He always did really well when his matches were off stream.
That's a stark contrast because here's a bit of lore from you. When Daigo won Evo 2009, Mago boasted he was the only person that could beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because like I feel like he's one of those players that talks a lot like that and says things, but when it actually comes down to it, and if he's being honest about it, I could tell because there was the first tournament that both of them were sponsored was Revelations in 2011 when Yin and Yang had just come out, and Mago was playing Faye because he was busted as fuck. In virtually every version, Faye was busted. Even in vanilla, he was great, but when he was playing Daigo in the grand finals, like he's just dropping shit that he like never drops. And, you could just tell he was playing really nervous. And as soon as I heard that from Air, I was like, that actually kind of makes sense. Cause like he does seem to choke quite a bit in like very clutch situations when he normally would not do that.
That's Mago. But he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I heard that Ultra David took him to try Jewish food or whatever, and he absolutely hated it. There's a story that Ultra David told about that.
I got to ask him about that. I caught up with him too. Yeah, that's the thing about SoCal, man, is like James Chen rated me the other day and I had 400 people in my stream just because of James Chen, which was cool. And I don't really talk to James a lot.
Yeah.
But we know each other. David saw me at Evo when I was at the 10-0 booth because I have friends that work there. And he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" Like, we're talking a little bit. He was showing me his controller that splits in two. Do you know about that?
Is it not the cross up by Hitbox? Is it something that's actually manufactured, or is it totally custom
controller?
Oh, yeah.
And you see people kind of doing it now, but it's basically like a Lego that you could put together or take apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking. So like SoCal is strange, man. Like not a lot of us talk. Like I talk to what you would probably know as the Wednesday Night Fights crew. So like Chris, Brent, Mark, Myers. Who else? Velociraptor. Velociraptor and I are really good friends. Driftwood.
NG Driftwood?
Yes, NG Driftwood. BJ Unchained, Calvin
John. I remember all these guys,
John.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, Calvin John wasn't Wednesday Night Fights. He was NorCal, but we're cool with him. Like those are the guys like I talked to on the rig. Oh, Killer Kai. Killer Kai was my roommate for a long time. And then when I see him, Mike, like me and Mike are really cool. Mike Ross, for anybody just wondering. So that's like kind of like my circle. Oh, Combo Fiend, Hung B, Mike Watson, obviously. Like those are the people that I talk with. But like Valle, who else is out here in SoCal? Like Sherry, dude, Sherry lives down the street from me, and we're cool, but we don't talk. Like I could walk to Sherry's house. Stupendous, like same thing. Like those are like I'm cool with those people, and we don't see each other often, but we're just that's how SoCal is. You're just cool with these people.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the Third Strike days too of Family Fun. Like those guys still know each other and they still talk, and I'm sure they probably still meet at some of the Jazzy Circuit events and different things. But like, it's not like you actively keep up with people, but they're in your circle for life. Like you've hung out with these people for years. You all played the same game together. You're in the same community, so there's still that sense of camaraderie.
And it's even more weird. It extends a little bit beyond that because I remember I used to go frequent this bar in Little Tokyo in LA called Tokyo Beat. My favorite karaoke bar stamp of all time. Rest in peace, that place. It closed. And it was cool because there was just 2 private rooms.
Yeah.
And they were small and they were always booked. So if you wanted to sing, you had to sing in front of people.
Yeah.
I still have videos on my Instagram of this girl just killing it for singing oh my god, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Bonnie Tyler.
Everybody just gives her a standing ovation. Like she absolutely killed it in front of all these people. It was so great. But I bring that up because the bartender there, we were talking once. I went alone one time, not with my girlfriend. and we're talking, and he's like, "Oh, you know this guy?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know Andrew. How do you know Andrew?" He's like, "From playing Third Strike." I was like, this random bartender who I've never seen at a
Yeah.
fighting game before. He's just like, "Oh, I play Third Strike."
Oh man, that I wish I know not a lot of people say this. They usually say the opposite, but I almost wish that I was a little bit older so I could have been involved in that community, because the little bit of time I spent actually trying to play and learn Third Strike was probably the most fun I've ever had with fighting games, like ever, because
Oh
there's
yeah, it's my favorite game.
nothing comes easy in that game, and it's so perfect that way. You are the only thing that's in the way of your progress in that game. If you're not willing to put in the time, you're not willing to learn how to DED, you're not willing to learn how to do like the jump back option selects on wake up and shit, you're just going to get destroyed and you're going to be made to look like an idiot. It's a very brutal environment.
I'll say though, that game and Marvel 2 are probably the FromSoft versions of fighting games. Like,
Yeah.
they're brutal. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get destroyed.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, a lot of people in Third Strike say that that's how they got their start. Is like, I thought I was good. I got completely destroyed by people like J.R. Rodriguez, Yi Wang, Ahmad, or not Ahmad,
Amir.
Yes, Amir, Chun-Li player, Pyro Lee, all these dudes. They're like, I thought I was good, and I got absolutely destroyed by these guys, and it just made me want to get better. Like, if you either get the virus or you don't. You either say, fuck this, I'm not going to play, or you say, fuck that, I'm going to learn how to play and I'm going to beat these guys.
Ken, it's an acquired taste, man. I can't explain it. There's something about that game that gets you so upset, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to get good at that game.
Yeah, there's a video of Nuki, longtime rival of like Daigo and other Japanese players, FGC Translated, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. Nuki basically recently on a stream, he opened up the 25th or 35th anniversary edition, 30th anniversary, I forget what it is. But he was basically talking about how in this game, there are option selects which essentially make this rock, paper, scissors game that never ends. And so that's why Third Strike players only play Third Strike, because there's this option of parry, low parry, high parry, jump back on wake up, block or throw, and like what your opponent does versus what you do on wake up. And it creates this literal never ending rock, paper, scissors that can just always be fun for hours on end. And that's why you'll see, these long sets between Third Strike players in like the background of Co-op Cup and stuff. Dude, they're playing for like 2 hours straight, because it's the most fun game to play at a high level with someone else who also knows what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, to talk about this guy is just it's a problem now, but Kuroda, separating the person from the gameplay that's probably Third Strike to a T.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Kuroda was basically he won Japan's highest level tournament. He won it with one of the worst characters in the game named Q. He's slow. His moves aren't that good. They have really bad priority. And he was so good that he went into one of the grand finals of what they called Togeki, or Super Battle Opera. And he literally said in his pregame interview, I am going to OCV this team. And he did it. OCV one character victory. So it was a 3-on-3 format. And if you lost, the next person in line would play next. And he literally just said, I'm going to OCV this team. And he did it in fucking grand finals. Like, that's how good this guy was, that he could just say he was going to win and make it happen. And unfortunately, he has been in and out of jail in like the past decade or so for various different things. So, it will definitely tarnish like his reputation within the community, and nobody really associates with him anymore. But yeah, it was something that we would watch in the States, just being like, holy shit, this guy is insane. And he actually was, like, from what people said, he basically lived in the arcade. Like, he didn't pay bills. He would just go to the arcade and play Third Strike. Like, it was his whole life.
Having been to Japan 2 times, Stamp, I will say the arcade culture there is just incredible. I was getting my ass beat to like this random guy I've never seen before in Super Turbo. I know how to play that game, but to the level that the Japanese know how to play is just on another level. But yeah, their arcades are great. I got a chance to go to Sega Akihabara. That's closed down now. So rest in peace, that place. I want to go back. I implore you, your viewers, if you have a chance to go to Japan, go. Um, and I didn't even go for Street Fighter. I primarily went to just hang out, eat ramen, and buy records. Like half of my
Yeah.
record shelf that's behind me is all records from Japan.
Is it Toa Records you went to, or was it just a like
Oh,
mom
I
and
went
pop place?
everywhere. I went
Yeah.
everywhere. I went to Disc Union. I went to Tower Records, which I wasn't really too happy about. Tower Records. There's a Tower Records in Japan. Everybody.
Mhm.
It's the only place in the world that still has Tower Records. If
Yeah.
you know what Tower Records is. But Disc Union was my favorite. There was this place called Anchor Records where I got you're familiar with Tatsu Yamashita, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I got his For You album, which before it even blew up, I got it there for like $30. This guy kept it at Anchor Records. He kept that record in a fridge.
Yeah.
It was insane. Like
He
the
knew.
level of care. Yeah. So yeah, Disc Union, Anchor Records. I went to this one called Coco Isle Records, which is primarily deals with reggae and Hawaiian records, which I'm big into Hawaiian records. My buddy is a DJ, and he primarily DJs with Hawaiian records. Aloha Got Soul. If you guys ever check that out, Hawaiian records are not what you think it is. It's something way crazy. What else? I went to so many places. It was it
Dude, you know what else is really cool about Japan is like not only is their culture very unique, but you never know.
yeah, in a fridge.
Yeah, like you never know what you're going to see. Because I remember watching Cooperation Cup 2019 and I saw a fucking guy sitting on one of the like teams that made the top 8, not Los Vatos Locos, the SoCal team, but he was on the other team that they first competed with in top 8. And he had a fucking Pig Destroyer hoodie on. Pig Destroyer tours like in my fucking area in like these floor shows, and they set up and they plug in just in the middle of a fucking like community center somewhere. And this dude in Japan's got a hoodie on for them. It was so cool to see.
Some interesting facts about Japan, and they are so when they covet something, they covet something. I'm sorry, I just thought of another place too. There's this place called Ella Records that I went to in this town called Shimokitazawa. I fucking love that place. I want to go back. Not the record store in particular, but just that whole place in general was a vibe. Shimokitazawa. If you ever go to Japan, check out that place. And then your Face Records. But so an interesting fact I learned about Japan was in the 70s and 80s, they flew, Japanese people flew to Jamaica and they bought all their stock of records, all of it. So the place with the most like volume of these great and rare reggae records is in Japan.
Of all
So if
places.
you want to buy some of all, not in Jamaica. So if you want to buy like some great reggae, you gotta go to Japan.
Yeah, and I love that because they have this culture, or they have this stigma, I guess, about them of being xenophobic and not enjoying, outsiders being there. But it's like they're extremely receptive to other cultures and their art and music
in terms
and
of
different things.
arts. Yeah. I didn't experience any of that while I was there, and I know primarily they got issues with Korea and Koreans.
Yeah.
Because of, I guess, the wars and whatever. But I didn't experience it there. I got by with excuse me and thank you. And that's pretty much it. Like, Japan's great. There's this, oh my God, dude, I need to go back. There's this row of alleyways, and it's called Golden Gai, Gai. And it's literally bars the size of probably half my living room, which is behind me.
Oh, is it the food carts? Is it like the food cart area?
It's a bar. It's a bar.
Oh.
It's the size of half my living room, not including the bar, or including the bar, the actual bar where the guy's serving you drinks. And you go in there and you just like drink and have a good time. I went to this one bar called Deathmatch, and you can search that place up. It's just a horror movie theme. You would love that place. It's a horror movie themed bar. When I walked in, he was watching not an izakaya, excuse me. Dave's only been to Narita Airport a few times.
Oh, he'll be there soon, man. This dude has been posting in my Discord. He's been in like Tunisia and all these places. Like, my man's going on a world tour. It's only a matter of time and he'll be there.
So Deathmatch Stamp, he's got horror movie things everywhere. I'll post a picture in your Discord later of the thing, but it says like no fucking cover, horror movies, like whatever. His logo is Leatherface.
Yeah.
But I walked in there, he serves popcorn and he's watching Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, Troa,
Yeah. Yeah,
whatever that.
Toxic Avenger, and then what was Peter Jackson's horror movie? Was it
Oh,
Brain Dead?
yeah, there was
There was another
Dead
name for
Alive
it.
and Dead
Dead
Alive, I
Alive.
think is
Yeah.
what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so so Golden Guy is just like this alleyway of bars. Like it's so awesome. My second time going there, we met this guy who, after Trump was elected, um, everyone was like, "If you don't like it, leave." He left. He was a Japanese American citizen, so he went to Japan, and we were talking about it. And he's like, "Yeah." So everyone was like, "You don't like it, leave." He's like, "So I left. And I've been living here ever since." This was 2019, and he introduced us to like what has been my favorite gin of all time. It was this orange flavored gin that was fantastic, fantastic. In this bar where this guy is playing like these really cool jazz records and everybody's just smoking cigarettes. And I don't smoke cigarettes, but I actually loathe it. But the environment was just so inviting,
Yeah.
even with all that tobacco smoke. It was just like, this is cool. I love this gin. I love this music. This guy's awesome.
Yeah, we were watching dude, I see that type of stuff all the time cuz like, like we were saying, Japan just seems to be it may not be a melting pot of people in the same sense that the US is, but it's definitely a place where art from all over the world is, like you said, coveted. And we were watching a video just a few days ago, RIP Nujabes, the guy that made
Mm-hmm.
Samurai Champloo soundtrack and a lot of other famous soundtracks and beats and different things, of him performing live just in this really small Japanese cafe, and everybody's just like bobbing to the beat, and he's mixing, and he's got his platters and everything, and it's so cool to just see that. It's like some shit like in America that would never fly. Like somebody would be bitching about it, and like people would be getting into fights because they'd be drinking too much or whatever, but it's like all these dudes just vibing to the music and just clearly having a great time. Nobody's got their phones out. I don't know, man. It kind of, in a lot of ways, like Japan just kind of feels like this fictional place when you see it from videos like that. And I'm sure it's not all as great as it might seem at first glance, but yeah, somebody would set off a fire extinguisher and ruin all of his equipment. Yeah, probably. They'd set off the sprinkler system, dude.
I gotta mute myself. I think my dog's about to bark. I'm gonna see what's going on.
Yeah, no problem. And we've been going for like 2 hours, dude. So if you need a break or anything, just let me know.
Oh no, I'm good. He's if you could see him behind me, he's by the door.
Getting a little unruly.
Yeah, he's mad at me. Well, I tried to take him out before we started, and I was like, "Come on, dude, you gotta go, or you're gonna have to wait."
Yeah. Something I've always wanted to ask you, dude, because you were so involved with the FGC, and obviously, you're free to leave out as much as you want about this, but like, Gootecks and Mike Ross, how are they in real life? Like, we always see, again, this is me from a spectator position. I only knew of them from Excellent Adventures, and they seemed like really happy-go-lucky dudes, and I'm sure they weren't like that entirely off camera, but like, did you ever get the sense that, they were just solid dudes? Are they exactly like they are on camera, or are they completely different?
Mike is exactly how you think he would be on camera. That being said, though, like to truly know Mike is kind of like a sought after thing, as weird as it is to talk about. Mike, not so much now, but Mike Ross back then, like you gravitated towards that guy. You're like, I want to see what this guy's about.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even from go pet my dog. I always pet him, dude. It wasn't even like, oh, this guy's just really good at Street Fighter. It's just like this personality. Like Mike Ross would walk into a room and you would just like, oh, it's gonna be a good night. He would have some hype moments. I remember one of those tournaments at Dreamlab we were talking about. He's playing Online Tony in a tournament match. They would throw tournaments there.
Mm-hmm.
And Online Tony teleports Mike Ross Ultras, and the Ultra autocorrects in vanilla. So this is Honda vanilla damage against Seth's 800 health.
Yeah, glass cannon.
Yeah, and he kills him. And it was like the hypest thing, because the only person who could have pulled something off like that was Mike. But Mike in person is a cool guy. Mike plays guitar. Mike is into metal. Mike's actually really good at guitar. And I remember, I think I might have mentioned this to you once, but Rob the Magician.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He had a show once, and sorry, I had to check on him again.
No problem.
He had a show once, and I was invited by Rob. I went and then alone, and it turns out Mike and another friend of mine, whose also name is Mike, was there, and another guy that was one of Mike Ross's friends. And we watched Rob. We hung out. Rob put on a great show. And then Mike Ross and we all went to a bar that was across the street. This was in Los Feliz, kind of like a trendy area in Los Angeles. And I bought around, Mike bought around, and then I brought it up to him a few months ago because Mike lives in Singapore now.
Yeah.
Or maybe like last year when he started streaming again. And I said, "Hey, Mike, remember that time we saw Rob and we went to the bar?" He's like, "I do." And we were exchanging music. He's like, I think about that time a lot. So Mike's a really good dude. Gootecks, I don't know what it is about Gootecks, but I don't know if it's just him. But anytime I'm around Gootecks, I get like this competitive energy. Like I need to just compete against this fucking guy. Like doesn't matter what it is. Like Gootecks just brings out this man, fuck this guy energy. Even though I'm cool with Gootecks and I would go to his house frequently and we would play Street Fighter with our buddies and stuff like that on the Excellent Adventures couch. Like we'd be playing Street Fighter there, Street Fighter 5 there. Gootecks bought me a Daria t-shirt because I had won it because we did a round robin at his place and I won. I beat everybody. So like Gootecks is cool, but there's just something about Gootecks that you have this competitive energy. And I don't know if it's because he was seen as the number one for so long or so early on. Like he was like the prominent number one guy in America when Street Fighter was popping off. But yeah, that's Gootecks. Mike is like, let's have fun. Gootecks is like, man, we just need to play something so I can beat you.
Yeah. I keep saying this, and I know, it's so crazy to finally get some insight from someone who knew them like that, even if it wasn't too often. Because to us, like they were basically like cartoon characters. I'm not even joking when I say that. Like Excellent Adventures was something that me and my friends looked forward to every Sunday. We would get in a fucking Ventrilo server and we would talk about the newest Excellent Adventures episode coming out. Like this is how obsessed we were with it. And I 100% get that from Ryan as well. And there's been clips. I mean, by the way, let me just mention, because we're talking about this as people who are super in the know about it. I do just want to mention Mike Ross and Gootecks, they had a very popular show in the beginning called Cross Counter, which was basically like a fighting game news report type show. And they were actually partnered with Machinima to make this show. Machinima got in 2010 an early copy of Super Street Fighter 4. And basically they had some extra time after a shoot one day and they sat down and they recorded themselves playing some online matches. And when
I got some lore about Super Street Fighter 4, actually, if you want to hear about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go for it.
So sorry to cut you off.
No.
You can finish it afterwards, but SoCal actually had one of the first copies of Super Street Fighter 4 because we somehow got a copy and burned it and we had early access to it. And we probably had it for like a good month and a half.
Yeah.
So it was the days of the Xbox 360 where you couldn't play the burned discs.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we got it, but we were playing it early.
Yeah. See, that is also something that's kind of gone completely out of whack too, because now like if you try to download shady shit like that, like you'll literally get a letter in the mail from your ISP. Like they're way more on top of people doing stuff like that nowadays. Back then it was all underground, but I think what was crazy the most about Gootecks and Mike Ross is like they did this show that was Cross Counter that was highly produced. They had like a cameraman, they had all these lav mics and all this equipment, and then they do this show where it's just two guys bullshitting and playing online, literally not even cameras in the beginning, and it blew up. I mean, I'm talking like 100,000 views, and this is very early YouTube where that was like unheard of.
Yeah, going to people's houses, at Combo Fiend's house doing it.
Yeah, man, it was so sick to watch. And like the first episode they did, which was on camera, was they had like a whole just array of people. They had Justin Wong, they had Marn, they had Gamerby was there after he had like his breakout performance at Evo 2010 where he beat Justin. And just watching that, it literally felt like you were sitting in a room hanging out with some guys, and they were all really strong at the game, playing it online. And basically this show blew up. Like it became their driving cash cow type, content. And they had a format later on There was some controversy. Basically, they got hit with a cease and desist from Capcom. And the reason why is because they had made a strategy guide for the character Akuma with Tokido, and it was called the Tokido formula. Well, someone...
that video is gone now, right?
Yeah, it had to be removed. It was literally part of like their legal dealings with him. From my understanding, again, I'm not completely involved. It's just from what I remember Gootecks talking about. But someone in Japan sent the Tokido formula. Like somehow Capcom Japan actually caught wind of this thing existing, and they were like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not cool, because they had, you know, partnerships with like Brady Games and Prima, I think is the other company. Prima, Brady Games back then when strategy guides actually existed. Yeah, they had partnerships.
There was an Ultra Street Fighter 4 strategy guide.
Yep. Yeah, they had partnerships with those companies, and they were contracted to make strategy content. Like, you were not supposed to be making stuff like that.
Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know how strategy guides work, they're not done in-house by these companies. They actually contract players to like do the strategy guides, like and they're given credits in the indexes and stuff like that. But a lot of the times they're early on and that stuff just becomes dated, so they're really just there as references to like frame data at a certain point. Like they just become paperweights.
Yeah, and there's also, you know, they're kind of like collector's items in a way too, because it's like official, you know, it's like official tie-in material that you can buy alongside the game. But yeah, that was the crazy thing. They got hit with a cease and desist, and Gootecks wanted to fight it. He was actually in talks with Ultra David, and this is something else I would love for you to ask him. I mean, I don't want to like inundate him with questions because I know he's a busy guy, but I would love to know, like, did they ever come close to legitimately fighting this? Because Gootecks was like, well, this falls within fair use and all these different things, but his crew was like, nah, we don't want to fucking touch that, because like this is a multi-million-dollar company. We're going to get destroyed, and it's going to be really expensive.
I don't know. To be honest, that's something I didn't really know about until you brought it up. I just remember the video being taken down. But I will say Ryan, and given Ryan being Gootecks, given the recent thing about PogChamp, you know, that whole controversy, like PogChamp is no longer PogChamp, it's a lizard. Oh yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, Gootecks is PogChamp. That's who we're talking about.
The original PogChamp face, where it was like the guy with the open mouth and like the spiked faux hawk.
Yeah, that guy is Gootecks. That's who we're talking about. That was the guy, Salt, who you're asking about. Is that me when he's around? That's the competitive guy. That's the guy that brings out this competitive spirit in you that I just can't explain. But I don't think I would have seen him fight it, because there was a lot of opportunity that he took advantage. And I think had he fought it, he would have missed out on a lot of opportunity. And like I always say, he had a lot of foresight. So I think he even knew if he were to fight that, it would have hurt him. Because like for those of you guys who don't know, Stamp and I were talking about it earlier. The FGC wouldn't be where it is today without the PogChamp guy. Like the PogChamp guy was like, he had the foresight to see what this thing of fighting games would have become. The way he marketed himself and others, the way he marketed players, the way he marketed the game. It's a lot of his strategies are still being used today, and it's all because of him. So however, like we said it earlier in the stream, he's become a polarizing figure, however you want to view him, but you still have to give him credit for that, because he definitely had the foresight and saw what this could have become.
Yeah, not I mean, dude, he literally invented the content and branding strategy that everybody still employs, where like they had the mid-rolls built into the Excellent Adventures episodes in like 2011. I mean, nobody was doing that shit back then, unless it was like, you know, the top of the top YouTubers. Like nobody was doing inbuilt mid-rolls that you would have to skip, like to guarantee contracts and all these different things. Like he definitely, and in terms of fighting games, he definitely was one of the first people to see like this is going to be huge. And this was like before even Street Fighter 4 came out. I mean, he's talking about going way back to Third Strike. He could see the writing on the wall during Third Strike. Like, I wish the whole world could experience what SoCal has with family fun and the environment we have here. He's like, if we could somehow get this out to everybody, this is going to blow up. Like, no question.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I don't even think he was considering fighting them. I think he knew. I think I mean, it kept him afloat for a while, to say the least. It kept him afloat. And I don't know what he's doing now. Personally, I know he still streams. I know he still pumps out content, but it doesn't pop up on my For You feed on YouTube or whatever. That's just the way the algorithm is now, right? Like,
Yeah.
Your video didn't pop up, but that one I put in the screen cap
Yeah.
when we were talking about your video popped up, which was so weird to me.
And you definitely don't strike me as somebody who would actively search for Silent Hill video essays.
Oh, dude, I search for that stuff all the time. I actually I forgot who it was, but Ink Ribbon's another guy that I like to watch.
I love his content. Yeah.
But there was somebody else who would explain the lore of Resident Evil, and they did the what's her name in remake? That is like, she's the daughter of somebody, but she's got like it's the part
Lisa Trevor.
Yeah, so he did a whole lore on Lisa Trevor. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, and like I said, Kuon's been popping up on my feed the past couple months, so I watched those videos. So I thought those were cool.
Yeah, there's oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so yeah, I watched that stuff. I think it all kind of started with watching the PT video essays about Kojima and Konami.
Yeah, I've seen one where it's like that and the Death Stranding reveal trailer being like a subtle hint, like taking shots at Konami and his position within the company at the time. And there's a lot of like valid evidence as to, he was just kind of inserting jabs left and right that nobody would have known.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, there's a 0% chance Gootecks or Mike Ross will see this, but I definitely feel like what you said about Mike is 100% true, where he seems very exclusive in a lot of ways. And I've heard a very similar story to what you said was James Chen and Ultra David, since we were talking about them. They have an episode of their show called Ultra Chen TV where they were talking about Mike, and they said that he was basically like just this energy magnet at tournaments, but it took a lot out of him. So like a lot of times he would basically just go into a hotel room and hang out with those two and be like, I'm so fucking sick of like meeting people. And it's like, cause it was basically like going to a convention with like some big actor or something there. And he had to be the character of Mike Ross in front of everybody.
No, that's definitely true. And I didn't necessarily mean it like that. Because I'm talking about these moments that we weren't at majors. We were just like at the local arcade or Dream Lab, that LAN center I was telling you about, where everybody knew everybody. And there was some people who knew Mike outside the lens of fighting games through YouTube, through the Dogface show. Do you remember the Dogface show?
Precursor to Cross Counter. Yep.
Precursor to Cross Counter. Yep, exactly. And that guy, let me tell you about that guy. That guy, he's a chef in Vegas or something like that. At a very high-end restaurant, but had he stayed the course doing that, I think he would have probably been really big, because that guy just bleeds charisma. Yeah,
he was like, he was like the Tonight Show host of the FGC. Like the way he conducted that, yeah, you can tell I need to hydrate, but the way he conducted that show was totally like that would have majorly caught on in like the Machinima era for real.
No, yeah, no doubt. But yeah, so I was just speaking on Mike from like a private point of view. There's just something about him, and there is a chance he might see this stamp, because I tweeted that I'm going to be here, and I tweeted your Twitch, and we follow each other on Twitter.
Oh,
so
okay,
he might
cool.
See it.
Well, hey, Mike Ross, if you do end up seeing this, I just want to say I've been a massive fan of basically everything you've done, and just want to let you know that you had a very positive impact on my life. The decision you made around when Street Fighter V came out, I know you've not really been 100% open about how that whole thing went down. It's nobody's business, but I majorly respected that you left a lot of money on the table and you didn't want to make a fool out of yourself. That's a decision I've always respected. So I just wanted to mention that, because I know he streams pretty frequently, but I feel like it's kind of cringe to just drop a paragraph like that in somebody's chat. So that's just something I've always wanted to tell him. I would never get a chance to do it otherwise. So
yeah, and if he does see this stamp, I'm just gonna drop a little link in your Twitch chat.
I can permit you if you need me to.
I think you would need me to, but yeah, I don't know if you want to go on to like whatever the next topic is. We've been talking about FGC stuff for quite some time.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, where we have such a history with it, we could talk about it for days and days. Like we could do a continuation where all we do is talk about it, but. Um, so yeah, getting into some of the more personal questions, kind of similar along the lines of what I was asking she, because I love just learning about people's like career paths and kind of, you know, what everybody's doing in life and what led you to what you're doing currently. You know, what kind of led you to the career path that you're in? And of course you can be, again, as vague as you want to be, and not trying to dox anybody out here, but you know, what kind of led you to the career path you're in now, and what process did it take to actually get where you're at currently?
No problem. Before we start, though, just to finalize the FGC, let's bookend this real quick. Take a look at the link.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the score is wrong. It was actually 2-0.
Oh, shit. Yeah. No games reported. Why does it say that?
Oh, I don't know about that, but yeah, does it show the score?
Yeah, let me share this up here.
It was 2-0.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he said, I flew all the way from Singapore just to lose to you.
Yeah, I think you actually told me about that one time in my Discord. I was like, man, it's so like what a random place for Mike Ross to be in Singapore, but I know that he knows like CN and they were doing a bunch of content.
Street Fighter. This is for Street Fighter 6.
Oh, yeah. So this was super recent.
Yeah. But my career path, man, I work in law.
Yeah.
I just do it because it's easy. Before that, I worked in the marijuana industry. For a brief period of time, and then before that, law. So at one point I wanted to be an attorney, but having worked with attorneys and seeing what they go through on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, I don't want to be an attorney. I don't want to be an attorney at all. And not to like sound shitty, but my certain sect of law that I work in is recession proof.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of give you an idea of what type of law it is.
Yeah.
It's recession proof. So it's not crime, it's not criminal, it's not anything else, but it has a lot to do with financials. So yeah. But it's easy. It's literally easy. But I'm at a crossroads right now. I'm thinking about leaving because I do a lot and I don't think I get compensated fairly for what I do. I do like the work of like 4 people, as well as being the office manager, because we don't have an office manager in office. So I'm training enterprises hiring.
Well, hey, dude, like exactly what I told she. It's called a job market for a reason. Like if it ever comes to a point where your responsibility and compensation there's an imbalance there, you got to make that call.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm staying there for now and I'm kind of toughing it out is because A, I get to work from home 3 days a week. And B, it's 15 minutes from where I live.
Yeah.
On the streets. So you can't be that. I went from filling up every 4 to 5 days, my gas tank, to every 2.5 weeks. So you kind of can't beat the savings.
Dude, working from home is a fucking blessing. I will say that. Like, especially, if you were with a company that was kind of on top of pre-pandemic, they were planning for things and they're like, look, if shit hits the fan, we're ready. If you were in that type of position and you got to work from home, like as soon as everything hit the fan, it was a fucking blessing. And I agree, like way less wear and tear on your car. You don't have to get up an hour in advance and get ready for a commute. You don't have to worry about shit weather, traffic, accidents. Dude, it's so great.
As long as you're not easily distracted like you. I'm not easily distracted. I actually work better at home than I do in the office because, like I was telling you, Stamp, I'm practically the office manager there. So not only do I have to do my job, but I also have to okay, shit, are the supplies here? This person's supposed to be here to pick this thing up, or this person's going to be dropping this off. Like, am I going to be here? Is somebody going to be? So I have to coordinate all that stuff. I don't drink coffee. I have to order the fucking coffee.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah.
So and then they tell me like, there's no coffee. I'm like, fuck, we got a coffee machine in the lobby. Like, can't you go downstairs and get it? We don't like it. I'm like, it's better than the fucking Keurig machine that we have.
Yeah. Look, it's coffee. Like I used to be like that where I was very particular about it. But when I started working at a place where it was just like the free silver packets of like bulk garbage tier coffee, but it gets the job done. I literally don't give a shit what coffee tastes like anymore, dude. It's just unleaded fuel for me. That's all I think about it as.
You're a coffee snob. You're not going to lie. It's fine. I mean, I don't like coffee for the sole reason is I don't like cigarettes. And I think black coffee tastes like cigarettes.
It smells like it for sure.
Yeah. Like that's it. I have such a disdain for cigarettes that's stuck with me. I can only drink two certain types of coffee. I can only get a cinnamon dulce latte from Starbucks because it's just packed with cinnamon and sugar. And I can only get a Vietnamese mocha coffee from this chain out here called Lee's just because it's really fucking strong, but the chocolate overpowers the coffee.
Yeah, that's another thing is like the creamers and all the other stuff. Like I've heard Thai tea is one of the greatest caffeinated drinks in the world, but again, it's kind of similar to what you're describing where it's like just fucking load that shit with milk and sugar and it's hardly even, a coffee product anymore at that point.
Yeah, we have a lot of cafes out here, Asian cafes when they serve their menu is like 50 to 60 items long,
Yeah.
and they have like so many things and it's good food. But they have this thing, most cafes have it called Spanish coffee, and it's literally coffee with ice cream, vanilla ice cream.
Yeah. I've also never tried boba. People were like jumping down my fucking throat the last time I mentioned that I've never had boba. They're like, "What? How? How have you lived? You haven't experienced life." I'm like, "Dude, it's just tapioca balls. How is it that crazy?"
Yeah, I don't particularly like boba. When given the option, I always say no, don't give me boba, but I do like the teas. I do like the teas. But I've tried it. Like, you just gotta try it. Yeah, that's just something you need to try and see for yourself.
Is there anything, about, I know you said that you were in law in the past and then you kind of took a hiatus from it. Is there anything about it that people don't usually take into consideration with that type of job, or is it more of a clerical thing, like where you said you're managing your office?
I mean, it's easy. But when I say it's easy, it's easy. Like, the the margin for human error is very small. You
Yeah.
can fuck up, but a lot of the times it's like not on you. There, like, law is very collaborative. Like, we work with other agencies to do this and that. Like, you've seen Pineapple Express, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Seth Rogen's character is a process server. Well, we work with process servers. That shit is actually wild. Like, actually wild. Like, we had one where a process server was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this because this guy pulled a gun out of me and blah blah blah. It's like, it gets really crazy, but it's very collaborative. Without those guys, we can't, you know, get the legal process going. So, um, that stuff is not on you. So what is in your power is very easy to control. Like, law is easy. Like, if you want an office job, if like that's your goal, like that's great. Get an office job if you want. Law is pretty easy to get your foot in the door, and I'm basically a paralegal without the degree. Like that.
Yeah.
That's basically what I do. So, like, if you ever want to change career paths, look into law, look into civil law, basically, not criminal, unless you want to do that thing. Um, we had a new, well, she's not new. We've been working together for 2 years now, but out of all the people when I started my job, I'm now the longest tenured person at my job, Stamp, and I've only been there since 2022.
Yeah.
And she started maybe 2 weeks after me, but I always tease her. I go, dude, did you think like we were gonna be up late at night eating Chinese food, looking over in like legal documents in the conference room? And she's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, no, that's not what this law is about. Like, it's easier than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting too, because I feel the exact same way about at-home IT. At-home IT, people think it's like these nerdy people like me, admittedly, that sit here and like code all night, just all hours of the night. We're just coding and developing. Not the case at all. Like, it's actually fairly easy to get your foot in the door and work from home IT in various different, industries. And kind of like you said, people are consistently surprised at the ease of the day-to-day tasks that exist, and the pay is excellent too. Like,
I would actually like to pivot to that, but
yeah.
and especially knowing what I do about computers and then seeing how my computers at my job are set up, I'm like,
Mhm.
you guys are fucking idiots. Like, why would you do things this way? Like, Stamp, on Windows, you have Xbox, like the game features, right?
Yeah.
Why would that stuff not be disabled on my work computer?
Yeah.
Like, why do I have Skype on my work computer when, first of all, it doesn't even have video calling capabilities to begin with? You guys could eliminate all these programs that are sucking up resources to make our lives better, but you guys are just morons. I hate my
Uh,
IT department.
Dude, I used to work in university IT, and we were actually part of like the field service techs. And my God, the general incompetence of, and I get it, they're not, they went to school before computers had really become the norm and become the standard for like how you document everything and data entry and all that. But like so many of our cases were literally my monitor is busted, somebody come fix it, and we go and like the power cable's loose. And like someone acts like their whole life is coming to an end because their screen won't turn on and like their computer was powered down and they didn't realize it. Like it's actually insane. And they'll treat you like you're some kind of wizard. They're like, "Oh my God, how did you fix it? I've been struggling all morning." I'm like, "Bro, I just pressed the fucking power button."
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, so my IT department's incompetent. I hate them. I hate them all. But yeah, like that's what I do. I work in law. It's recession proof. It's civil law. We've sued famous people. I can talk about this because I wasn't working there at the time. My last firm I worked at, we sued Charlie Sheen.
Oh damn.
He personally came and dropped off a check.
Settlement.
Yeah, and I could talk about this now. My last job, we sued basketball player Lamar Odom.
Damn.
And yeah, because I looked it up and I was like, Lamar Odom, because I got the case on my desk and I was like, no. So I checked and we have their personal information. So we got social security, we got birthday. So I checked the birthday. I'm like, oh shit, it's Lamar Odom. It's the same birthday.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Was this during his Mavericks tenure, or was he out of the league at that point?
He was out of the league by that time. It was like 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
Mac and cheese or spaghetti mac and cheese.
Yeah, that's like Dr. Red's litmus test of people in general. He literally will not talk to you. He won't associate with you until you answer that question. That's his one question. But yeah, that's it's funny talking about Lamar Odom. He's part of that whole I don't know if me and she ever got to talking about this because we did kind of touch on conspiracies toward the end, but it's like that whole Kardashian curse thing that people talk about. Like he's one of them. Tristan Thompson is another where it's like
he just got busted for PEDs. Your team.
Yeah.
I forgot he's on your team again.
Yeah, he was on the Kings randomly, like riding the bench on the Kings for like a season or two, and now he's back on the Cavs. But it's like,
Not
dude.
Anymore.
Oh yeah, no, he's gone now. Like I saw they made a Facebook post a couple days ago where they're like, "Oh, we stand with in solidarity with Tristan Thompson and we believe him and this, that, or the other." But yeah, it's like he started dating Khloe Kardashian and it's like the dude fucking forgot how to play or he just stopped caring altogether. Like he was averaging 1 point something points and he was making 15 million a year at that point. Like what the hell is going on, man?
So when I was doing my marijuana job stamp, I wasn't working at a dispensary. It was gray area stuff. But part of my job was to deliver, and I would deliver to the dispensaries. And I remember one day I'm in West LA and I'm driving my car and there's so much traffic. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm on this street called Beverly in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And right in front of me, Kendall, Kylie, and Kim is pregnant with her first baby. I was so annoyed I honked at her. Like, get out of the she's jaywalking, so I'm like, get out of the fucking road. And then both her sisters gave me a dirty look, but like I didn't give a shit.
It's so funny because like in SoCal, LA area, you just see things like this. Like celebrities aren't behind this veil of Beverly Hills and like you just see these people every now and then. I was
just telling you earlier, Matthew Lillard would go to my Blockbuster. I forget her name, the mom from Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh yeah.
She was married to Bradley Whitford from Billy Madison and obviously Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
I think he gets killed by the mermaid, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Drew. I met Steve-O. Who else? This is all when I worked at Blockbuster too, by the way. The T1000.
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick, yep. He was a customer at my Blockbuster. And then when I was doing my marijuana thing, like I told you, I saw Kim Kardashian. One day I'm driving and I wasn't sure if I was going somewhere for work or driving home, but I look right next to me and eating licorice in his car is John Malkovich. And I'm like, of course I'm going to see John Malkovich right next to me eating licorice in his car. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Completely out of fucking nowhere. See, in the East Coast, unless you're in New York City, you don't ever see shit like that. And they would have to be in like Times Square, or maybe somebody's doing, I know they'll do like Good Morning America appearances in New York City or whatever, but you don't see anything like that.
Even like the music scene out here. There's this music festival in Los Angeles, which was really great at the time until the founder got canceled. It was called FYS, short for Fuck Yeah Fest. And one of the lineups, which is probably the best lineup ever, was 2013. And the band The Breeders were there. They have that song called, I think, Last Flash or something like that. I forget the name of the song, but it's Kim Deal and her sister from the Pixies.
Yeah.
Their album called Cannonball. But right behind me when I'm watching them perform is Clea Duvall. I don't know if you know who she is.
I've definitely heard the name.
If you search a picture of her, you'll know who she is. But she's right there behind, like, me watching the Breeders play.
Yeah.
So it's the music scene. You catch a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, and kind of like, I know especially the Calabasas area is known as being very wealthy. Like I think that's where isn't that where the Kardashians live mainly, in that type of area, or not so much?
Hold on one second. Oh no, sorry. I was just making sure that my girlfriend wasn't coming home because I was just gonna flip my camera down.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like that was where Kobe Bryant was.
Yeah.
When that crash happened, he was in Calabasas.
Calabasas, yeah, I think they are. But they would come out to LA and a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know. Celebrities are weird, man. I was actually telling my girlfriend this story yesterday. We were watching The Office, and you're familiar with Amoeba Records out in California, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So back then, Amoeba was on Sunset, right by the Dome. Remember the Dome movie theater from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember one time I was parked very far from Amoeba and I was walking towards Amoeba and I looked into the restaurant that was right next to me and it was Stanley from The Office just eating right in the window. Like,
yeah.
Just this close to me. I was like, yeah, it's Stanley.
Yeah. And of course you don't want to approach because you don't want to be like that guy. That's like, oh my God, because they're just trying to fucking eat.
But I have a funny story about that. Gary Cole, do you know who he is?
Again, I've heard the name, but
he's the antagonist in Pineapple Express. He's also Lundberg from Office Space.
Oh, yeah.
So I was volunteering at this thing at the Pasadena Playhouse, which is like, I don't know, they're doing some music event, and my friend invited me to go. And I was like, oh my God, that's Gary Cole. She's like, you can't talk to him. You can't do it. I'm like, all right. Like, she's like, you gotta be professional. Not 5 minutes later, I see her chatting him up and was like, you fucking...
Yeah. Had to get you out of the way so she could get her turn. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Oh, funny enough too, that same friend, like, celebrities are everywhere stamp in LA, like, and you just don't realize it. My buddy is good friends with Elijah Wood. I didn't know this until like recently when we started like hanging out again. But he's good friends with Elijah Wood. I remember one time before I started, like, I knew this about my buddy. I was at this thing called School Night in Los Angeles where bands play on a Monday night. And I went to go see this artist. Her name was Kate LeBon.
Mm-hmm.
And she happened to be performing. John C. Reilly was performing. And are you familiar with the band Haim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was one of their first ever shows.
Yeah.
So that was there. And Elijah Wood was the DJ. The same friend who's like, oh, don't say hi to Gary Cole. It's not professional. She was just gushing over Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
And I had a few drinks. So I was like, yo, you want to meet him? She's like, yeah, I do. I was like, all right, hold on one second. So I went over to Elijah Wood and I grabbed him by his arm and I was like, hey, my friend wants to meet you. And I pulled him with me.
Yeah.
And he met my friend. But I always think about that time. I was like, man, I really pulled Elijah Wood's arm.
Yeah. And you tell this story and most people are like, bullshit, but where you live,
really
it's actually like totally viable. The closest thing that's ever happened to me was Ron Perlman was shooting a movie at a town that I was just kind of passing through. And I go into this Walmart late at night just to get a few things. And I just see fucking Ron Perlman in there with like two dudes. I don't know if it was like bodyguards or whatever, but he's just in there and he's like asking an employee where the toothpaste is. I'm like, that's fucking Ron Perlman. What's he doing in this state? Like, much less this fucking tiny town. But yeah, he was apparently shooting a movie in like Kentucky or something at the time, and just happened to be in a town that I was like passing through, but it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, my girlfriend was in a band, and she was on Burger Records for a little bit. And I remember she was playing a show at this venue over here called The Smell, and uh, the guy from Crystal Castles was there watching her, who's now since been canceled. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, it's interesting too because I think a lot of times people have that inkling, and in America it seems to be different because in Europe or even Mexico or like Japan, like they very rarely will see celebrities like that, and so it usually is a fairly large event. But I think people in SoCal, especially in the Hollywood area, are very jaded about it because you guys see them all the time. They're just like
that
more of an annoyance, you know?
not even necessarily annoying. Some of them, yes, but the etiquette really is to just be cool around them,
Yeah,
like not intentionally be like smug or think your idea of what cool is like. We were at Yeah Yeah Yeahs had their anniversary of their first major album Fever to Tell in 2017 at this venue over here in Hollywood, and we went. That was probably the most concentrated place of celebrities I've ever seen at one point. Um, and Edgar Wright was there. And it actually been the second time that year I saw Edgar Wright at an event. But Edgar Wright was there. My girlfriend loves Edgar Wright. She's like, "Oh, I want to meet him. Like, what do I do?" Oh, I was like, just, go up to him, just be like, "Hey, I wanted to say hi, big fan." Just walk away. Like that's all you
yeah,
do.
yeah. They're not like these mythical
Don't try
creatures.
to yeah, don't try to strike up a conversation.
Yeah. Like
Or the other
they're busy. They got their own shit going on. Just come up, give them a quick little hey man, big fan,
and
and yeah,
and they're there for the same reason that we were there. We wanted to
yeah,
see the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. So
yeah, yeah. Edgar Wright, if you guys don't know, Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, um, Hot Fuzz,
Hot Fuzz,
yeah,
World's End.
yeah. Scott Pilgrim, director of all
Yep.
those movies.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're not mythical creatures, man. They're just fucking people. And like I feel like a lot of times, like we've been seeing massive musicians go on like Kai Cenat's stream recently. Like Nicki Minaj just came on his stream. Now, ultimately, it was to promote her album and her perfume or whatnot. But like, I feel like that's going to be the future of it, where they just kind of appear on people's streams. Because I mean, this dude Kai Cenat is like concurrently 100,000 plus fucking viewers. Like this dude is major, big time mainstream viewers. So I like that version. I hate when it's like somebody whipped out their phone and like approached a celebrity and ambushed them and they're like, oh my God. And it's like they're clearly just annoyed because they're trying to just fucking get where they want to get.
Yeah, California is an interesting place, man, because I say celebrities, and a lot of people automatically think movies and music. Like, do you know how many times I've seen like Andrew Reynolds down the street? Or
Yeah. Baker
I
boy.
had, yeah, my first jury duty ever. Um, what's his name? Tony Alva was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I'm staring at this guy the whole time, and he's got dreadlocks. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, why do I recognize him?
Yeah.
And they're reading our names, and they call me. And then later on, Anthony Alva, and I'm like, it's fucking Tony Alva. I knew it. And the guy
Yeah.
next to me, he's like, oh my god, that's Tony Alva.
Yeah, Venice Beach, especially like Wee Man is there skating with his crew, the Nullity crew all the time. He's got like his own skate company. He's got a whole team of people that are on flow. He owns a few Chronic Taco locations.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Hey, what's up, Siren? So yeah, kind of going into that as well in terms of celebrities. Have you ever seen outside of the whole, you know, kind of indirectly with the Lamar Odom situation? Have you ever run into any NBA players or seen them?
I got to think about this. Outside of the game, no, I don't think so. I don't think I've ever ran into anybody, any sports person. And we have a lot of places. Like, there's this place called Frankensons where we're from, and it's like this big, like, warehouse. It's a trade show with like sports and comics and stuff like that. And a lot of celebrities are there. I remember, like Bo Jackson was there doing signings once. But no, I don't
Yep.
think I've ever met an athlete before. Not to my recollection. I know some people who met Kobe that happened to be at the IHOP that he goes to when he was alive. But yeah, no, that's I would love to meet an athlete. I'd love to meet like an NBA player and just talk basketball.
Yeah, you were here actually during episode 3, where I actually showed some of the weirdest glitches, I guess would be the best way to describe it. I mean, based on what the videos were. What did you think about the validity of that? Like, why? And I can't show the videos because if I show, official NBA footage, there can be copyright issues there.
That's stupid. I show NBA footage all the time on my stream.
Oh, well, I should show it, but there's the video. Basically, if anybody doesn't know, you can check out episode 3. I'll make a timestamp for it and I'll put it in the description of this one so you guys can catch it easily. But
is it the one where Kyrie glitches, or is it the one where the players move in sync?
No, it's a Jalen Rose during either the 2015 or the 2016 NBA Finals, either the first or second time that the Cavs and Warriors met, and there's a video of Jalen Rose being absolutely fucking just frozen, like not moving whatsoever. He literally looks like a wax figure. And there's a dude that's like messing with his mic cables and his pack that's in his back pocket, and there's a lady like with headphones on. And it's like she catches that the camera's on him and she has this oh shit look on her face. And then she turns around and presses a button on a console, and then the camera switches back to like the main game feed where it's showing the players in the huddles for the timeouts. But it's like, it's so fucking weird. Let me go ahead.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull this up. Because I want to show it to you. Because like I said, we did show these once, but this clip is just so fucking weird. It's literally called "They Got Jalen Rose." Let's see. Yeah, Jalen Rose Android is what I searched last time to find it. And it's just called Jalen Rose as a Robot. All right, check this out. I'm just going to full screen it. Right here. Look at this, dude. Like, what the fuck?
I have seen this one. I have seen this.
And the thing that gets me is his fucking hands. Like, his fingers aren't moving whatsoever. He's completely frozen, dude. And then this lady turns around and she presses something, and then the camera switches back to the main. Maybe it wasn't her that did it. But
she's not. I know who she is. I hate her. She's a Spurs fan. She's a Spurs.
Oh,
fan.
Is she local commentator or something?
Or she got fired from ESPN a while back ago.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I can't stand her. That's weird, but I feel like, and I don't know if you've ever done that where you just kind of spaced out. I feel like that's what I'm looking at right there. Like he's just spacing out.
Yeah, there was also one of Shaq. And similar things have happened with like Al Roker on Good Morning America. But there was one with Shaq where they were showing this clip of like Charles Barkley singing karaoke, and they're all laughing about it. And Shaq literally has an open mouth, and you can see drool like building up on his lip. He's just going like that, and just staring into the camera. And it literally lasts like a full 90 seconds until EJ says something, and then he just immediately starts laughing with everybody else. Like he just came out of a trance or some shit. It's so weird, man.
I love Shaq. You know what? Actually, Stamp, I will say the closest thing I ever got to meeting a celebrity was in passing, a celebrity athlete, and it wasn't even an athlete themselves. It was their mom. I was driving to work a few years ago at an old place, and there was this Range Rover. I remember it to this day, decked out with everything. License plate frame, Shaq's mom. License plate, Shaq's mom.
Yep.
It was Shaq's mom. Oh, I saw Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, damn.
Before he passed away. Because he's from Pasadena. I work in the city of Pasadena, so I was going to the DMV. Pasadena has a DMV. And Eddie Van Halen pulls up in his red drop-top convertible to the DMV, and he fucking... It was pretty surreal seeing Eddie Van Halen. I'm not going to lie. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was... man, that was... like his son is actually doing really well nowadays. Like I see him all over the place in content. Like I just saw a video the other day he did. I can't remember if it was Pitchfork or whatever, but he was like talking about his favorite albums, how he loves Meshuggah. Like he's been on stage with Foo Fighters a little bit. So it's cool to see that he's like stepping out and actually doing some stuff now. But yeah, I remember whenever Eddie Van Halen, I think that was the same year that like Bill Paxton and a few other celebrities also died. And
I say it comes in threes.
Yeah, well, something crazy about that year, and you're gonna think I'm fucking crazy for this, but I was working in retail the year that Bill Paxton died as well. Out
of your mind, working in retail.
Yeah, that's true. At the end of the Oscars that year, they literally played the Kill Bill theme song at the end, and it was like the orchestra playing. It's called "Battle Without Honor or Humanity" is the actual name of the track, but they were playing that song, and the thing like they did a memoriam thing. They always do that for celebrities that passed away. And I have looked for that clip for literally fucking years. And every clip you find online cuts off right before the credits start to roll and they play that song. So every time I say it, I'm like, why would they play, of all songs? Quentin Tarantino wasn't being recognized. Uma Thurman, like none of the people involved in that movie. Why the fuck would they play that song? That just seemed like a really out of pocket, disrespectful thing to do.
Well, Stamp, if something happens to Cat Williams, we know why.
Oh yeah, because
Did you watch that stuff?
Oh yeah, he's been fucking going
he
ham.
spilled the tea. He spilled the tea. The thing that caught me, I don't know how you feel about it, when he said that thing about Ludacris. Did you see that?
Yep. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty crazy.
Didn't he say something about P. Diddy as well? Or has he been talking about that? Yeah.
He said something about P. Diddy. I mean, I kind of half believe it, especially when he was talking about the Kevin Hart thing. I was like, he's got a point.
Well,
like Kevin Hart kind of, I mean, from a comedian standpoint, he didn't pay his dues. He probably played the game. If I'm going to make any assumptions, because I don't know what goes on in Hollywood, but Cat Williams has a point. Like he was never at, like I don't ever remember hearing about him at local,
the
like,
circuits,
Factory, the Improv. Yeah, so.
Dude, have you ever seen the clip of Kevin Hart looking extremely afraid on like Kelly Clarkson's talk show? She's like, I don't know. This is exactly how the conversation goes. She's like, I don't know about you. And she's laughing and smiling and just gesturing. She's like, there's been people who've offered me big amounts of money to do things that I really don't want to do. And the camera pans over to him. He's there for comedic purposes, by the way. And he goes, and he starts shaking and looking around and he like does that. He's like, don't do that, please. And then she's like, they're in the room. And he just doesn't say anything. Like he doesn't play along. He's not fucking joking. He legit looks really scared. It's crazy.
There was I still think, so like on this topic, I'll go to my main one that I actually believe. And then I'll go to the other one that's plausible to me. But the one that I believe, Stamp, I don't know how a lot of people feel about this. Everyone gets mad at me when I say this. I don't think we ever landed on the moon. I kind of buy into the notion of the Kubrick theory. Did you watch Room 237?
Yeah. This is a funny conversation too, because this kind of gets into the flat earth thing. Not entirely. They're not completely hand in hand, but
no.
Did you guys?
I'll just say this. The technology we had then, we were able to go to the moon.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me we've spent almost 30 years now not trying to go back, or over 30 years not trying to go back to the moon?
Yeah, people have gone to NASA and asked them, where's the telemetry data? It's all been destroyed. And if you ask anyone why, they'll say, we had that technology, we destroyed that technology. And no one can ever give you the why as to why the technology was destroyed. They will just tell you that it was. And
yeah, I also want to see the flag.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about that, if you guys didn't know this, did you know that Richard Nixon called the astronauts via telephone and spoke to them in the original footage? A lot of people don't know that happened.
How did we get lines up there?
Yeah, he literally called them on a telephone and he said, this has got to be the longest distance phone call ever made from the Oval Office at the White House. And he's just casually chatting with these dudes. Like, what the fuck? That's so bizarre.
So there's that one for me. And then the other one is, I don't think Dave Chapelle is the same Dave Chapelle.
Oh, the cloning theory?
He looks different to me. There's something about it. Don't get me wrong. People age and they look different, but there's something about the way he sounds and the way he looks. It's just something is not the same.
Well, he did disappear for a while because the whole Comedy Central contract thing had happened, and he basically was like, "Fuck you guys! Like this contract is predatory, and I don't want to be a part of this anymore because I'm not getting the money that I'm owed." And he left, and he said somebody grabbed him on the shoulder on his way out and said, "The moment you walk out that door, your career's over. Like we're gonna call you a crackhead. We're gonna say you're tough to work with. We're gonna ruin you." And he walked out the door anyway. Well, by the time he fucking got home, all over the news, Dave Chappelle's a crackhead. He's impossible to work with. He tanked his own show. And this motherfucker just left, and he goes to Africa, of all places. He disappeared to Africa for like months on end. Nobody knew where the hell he was. And then he just reemerges. He's like, hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, I went to Africa for a bit.
Yeah. And that too. And then you compare him to like his other peers in comedy. They don't look like like Chris Rock, for example. You look at Chris Rock in Dogma, and you look at Chris Rock now, and he looks virtually the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's aged up, and there's the saying, "Doesn't crack," but there's something about Dave. Like he took a break. You think he would be rejuvenated and look a little bit more refreshed, but no, he looks tired, and he looks like he's gone through shit that like you wouldn't understand. And it's like you weren't even working, man. Like what the hell happened to you?
Yeah. The thing that I remember he had a set recently, and I don't know how much of this is comedy and how much is actually just him telling stories, but he says apparently the big humiliation ritual, this is another thing that's alleged, of course, but a big humiliation ritual is always forcing male comedians to dress up as women.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. I remember hearing him saying that. Yeah.
yeah, and he was like telling the producers, I don't want to do that shit. I just want to do comedy. And they would not have it. They're like, no, you have to do this. Like the
Yeah.
producers are telling us
The
you
the,
must
the,
do
the
this.
thing with him and Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
because he wouldn't fall in line and do it, they basically shredded his contract and it pissed him off because like it's like, why do I have to do this? Like why am I forced to do such a thing? I don't get it. And then if you look at basically every other prominent male comedian, they've done a bit like that at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like Will Ferrell's done it. All the
Yeah.
SNL cast have done it. Like it's just weird. It's like why the insistence on such a bit? I don't get it.
It's a classic bit. Like you can go back to what's that movie with Marilyn Monroe? Is it Some Like It Hot?
Oh
Where
yeah.
the two, yeah, like it's just a classic bit. Maybe it's tropes. I don't know. Um, I also buy the conspiracy. Oh, let me tell you this, Stamp. The stuff about Kevin Spacey that came out recently, I knew about it way before it came out. A buddy of mine, he used to be a coworker, but we're buddies. We'll get together and play games sometimes. He somehow is always in with celebrities. Like, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, he's drinking water. I thought he was choking. I don't know. For anybody who has dogs, you can be sleeping through like the loudest movie or whatever, but if you hear like your dog gag, you'll wake up instantly. Like
Yeah.
that'll set you off.
Yeah, or cats
So that's
retching. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, sorry. So anyway, so my buddy, like, did you watch Barry?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, did you watch Gotham?
No.
Okay, there's this guy who has alopecia that's on the show. I forget his name, but he goes by NoHo Hank on Barry. My buddy was friends with him, and they would play Overcooked together. They would go and Rocket League. But he has a friend who's Kevin Spacey's son or brother, or sorry, Kevin Spacey's a friend of his son. Anyway, he said his friend was at Kevin Spacey's house waiting for Kevin Spacey's son to go hang out, and Kevin Spacey was there, and he was like, "Why don't you come over, sit over here?" and just for him to sit on his lap.
Yeah.
And this was years before that stuff ever happened. So it was like, oh my God. And then I know from my mom, because she worked with an attorney who was neighbors with Travolta's attorneys. And I don't know if this is known from everybody, but John Travolta's gay. And I'm not saying, I mean, it might be slanderous, whatever, but my mom's boss at the time asked John's attorney, why is it that Tom Cruise is so open and very positive about Scientology when John Travolta is kind of just like, you don't really see him talk about it, even though everybody knows he's a Scientologist? And the attorney said, because Scientology takes a big percentage of your earnings if you are a well-known figure. And John asked them, can you guys not take so much? And Scientology basically told him, the church told him, yeah, John, we can take less, but we're not going to protect you anymore. We're going to tell people that you're gay. And at that time, John's biggest draw was the female crowd. So he was basically blackmailed by Scientology from like the mid to late 90s, which is why during that time he didn't promote the church as much as Tom Cruise did.
Yeah, people say it's crazy too because fucking Eric Costin and Steve Barra are Scientologists, the dudes that own the Barracks, the private skate park. Aaron Cairo from Braille Skateboarding is a Scientologist. It almost feels like it's like a
Jason Lee was a Scientologist.
Yeah.
Did you see the thing about his wife?
No.
Oh God, it's terrible. She was an actress, and then when she decided to break off ties to Scientology, Jason Lee divorced her. She was alienated from Hollywood. She never worked in the business again. And she goes on to say, like, people who I thought were my friends were just suddenly so cold, and like I never even knew them before. Like, this Church of Scientology has so much power.
Yeah.
Velociraptor and Driftwood used to live around the big Hollywood one stamp.
Yeah.
The street that it was on was bugged. So if you had any question about Scientology, like what is this place, they would come out and find you if you were still on the block to talk to you about Scientology.
Yeah. Dude, it's fucking crazy when you think about it. It's like, because we always think of celebrities as these people that have all this power to be their own person and do their own thing. But, you know, why is it? And Floyd Mayweather, I don't know if he's part of the Church of Scientology, but he had a really weird interview question once where he was like, I'm not allowed to drive my cars. Like, what the fuck? So are celebrities' money, is it even their money, or is someone else more entitled to it? Is it like all about, you know, their managers? And I know there's this whole theory about handlers, basically people that, very similar to what you said about John Travolta, people that basically keep you in line as far as your behavior and what you talk about in public. And if you are to break that for whatever reason, there's video of you doing something unsavory or something that can be leaked that'll ruin your reputation. Or, I mean, with AI and the way that it is, they could just make some shit up.
Definitely no. Yeah. I have no freaking clue. I know Scientology is just stupid powerful. I don't know why. It's just like South Park's episode on it was just so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's like
caused Isaac Hayes to quit.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Red said, the same with the hand on the eye thing. We were talking about this in She's episode with Faustian Bargains. There's a 1994 Faust movie, which I'm sure you know about, the legend of Faust, the guy who gave up one of his eyes for worldly knowledge and power. And on the cover, he's doing this. And celebrities always do that when they do photo shoots. They're not even obliged to do this, but they all do it. They either do this or they do this. And I mean, there's so many examples. It would literally take us all night. Like, we could scroll through endless amounts of people that are big in Hollywood that do this from all industries, fashion industry.
I believe it too. My office is right next to a Masonic center.
Mm-hmm.
I never see anybody go in and out, but that place is still there.
Yeah. And it's always, you know what's weird about Masonic lodges? In my hometown, it was right across from the police station. And I hear that that's fairly common. Like, right next to a police station or nearby one is usually where the Masonic lodge is chilling.
Yeah, they're nearby. Yeah, we're probably 5 minutes from a police station. There's another one maybe 10 minutes east of where I'm at now, and the police station is probably 10 minutes from that Masonic center. It's crazy.
Yeah, and most people just don't think anything of it, but it's like, doesn't it seem a little bit bizarre that we literally have secret societies still running in the modern day and age? To me, it's just like, and the other thing, you know, artists that blow up out of nowhere, they will usually always do that in their video at some point. Like Bella Poarch, her album cover, when she blew up on TikTok over that M to the B video, and she puts out her first album art, which is like her as an anime character, and it's her eye cut off by a sword over one eye. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why? Why do they all go to this imagery? Ray Srummerd, when he came out of nowhere, the album art was him and that other guy with like their eyes. It was like them at the edge of the album art where you can only see one eye. Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar has him with one eye on the front and one eye on the back.
That didn't help that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, I just think that Hollywood and propaganda in general are peak black magic. I don't even think it's that. I just feel like it's as George Carlin used to say, it's a big club and you ain't in it. It's a club of wealthy people that are all like-minded, and they all are into some weird esoteric shit that they don't want the public knowing about. And that's where you hear the rumors of like,
and the money and the money. It's the money. That's why I think if, you know, Me Too wasn't so prominent, they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna hurt their bottom dollar, yeah, they're gonna adjust. I'm gonna say, quote unquote, adjust to the times, because who knows that they're doing behind closed doors still.
Oh, and dude, Harvey Weinstein. For people, I love hearing when people are like, "Oh, Harvey Weinstein's gone. Hollywood it's cured."
Oh, yeah,
it's
not.
Fucking like, right. He was literally the tip of the iceberg.
There's stories dating back to James Dean. Like,
yeah. There's stories about what happened to the girl that played Dorothy, getting absolutely fucking traumatized by some of the fucked up shit that happened to her on set and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, Natalie Wood. That
Yeah.
whole story. Yep.
Yeah. So
It's wild.
it's not a new thing. Harvey Weinstein was simply a fall guy. There are far more people in Hollywood that we probably don't even know. You know, these are names that probably are
Bryan
well
Singer
established. Yeah, exactly. Like
and
Woody Allen.
Kevin Spacey trying to
Yep.
make his comeback too. I don't know if you saw that.
Yep. Yeah, and it's most likely not going to work. Like, bro, we're not.
Yeah.
People aren't just going to forget.
Yeah.
So that kind of lands in the firmly plausible area, I would say. And there is a lot of occult stuff that goes on in Hollywood as well, like the Church of Satan. Isn't that in Hollywood or nearby it?
I think so.
Yeah, and it was
we also have the Museum of Death.
Yeah, if you guys have ever seen Anton LaVey and Zena LaVey, check out Zena LaVey and tell me that's not like Taylor Swift's identical twin. That's literally the wife of the guy who established the Church of Satan. Yeah, just check it out, dude. She appeared on a talk show, Zena LaVey. It's like Zeena LaVey, and she literally looks like either Taylor Swift's mom or her identical twin. So, I don't know, man. But there's definitely some bizarre stuff going on, and I don't even know. And it goes, like you said, it goes really far back. Like the Beatles album cover for Sgt. Pepper's has fucking Aleister Crowley on it. Like, why is Aleister Crowley on there?
Also, the whole conspiracy about Paul McCartney dying.
Oh yeah, and
that?
Yeah, and if you play, is it Revolution number 9 or something? It's like,
says like Paul's dead, and then he's out of step with the other Beatles on Abbey Road.
Yeah, and that's the other one too. Is like people say that Michael Jackson, after the Pepsi commercial incident, was not the same person when he came back. He was like dancing different or moving different, and his hair looked fake and other stuff like that. People say like, oh, that actually severely damaged him, and like they had to put in like a body double or some shit after he came back.
All right, Snap. I'm kind of just want to get to this topic already. I got to give you the paranormal stories.
Oh yeah, no, definitely go for it, dude. I
have an example. I got to grab it. Hold on 1 second. I'll get to this in a second.
Yeah.
But I've had some very crazy, very strong sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one in particular. I was in bed and I was in high school, and I remember my eyes are open, and I'm looking at my door. My door is south of me in this current or where I was at the time.
Yeah.
And then I see white arms start covering my face. And I'm like, what the hell's happening? And more white arms are covering my face. And I was like, I can't move. Like, what's going on? So I bite into one of the arm snap and I could taste it. And then that's when I woke up.
Oh my God, dude. I'm not even in a bad chest way. I got fucking chills when you say that, because you can tell when people say stuff if they're making shit up. But yeah, that's and it's tough with that, because you never know if it's like, is this lucid dreaming or like, what is it? Because my eyes are fucking open. Like, how can it be?
And then the other time was in my current place where I'm at right now. When I first moved in, Velociraptor was in town. He moved back to Arizona a long time ago. So he was in town. He was sleeping on my couch. I had a different couch than what's right behind me. And I was in my room, and there's like, I don't even want to call it a hallway, but there's like a small little pathway between my room and the bathroom. And there's a smoke detector right there. I woke up that morning to the smoke detector on the floor, like perfectly on the floor, face down. I didn't hear anything fall. I asked him if he heard anything fall. I was like, did you hear anything fall last night? And he's like, no. I was like, the smoke detector was just like on the floor. Like,
yeah, and you have to deliberately unscrew, like it's latched in. You have to unscrew it and slowly pull it down.
On the floor, nothing was broken. Never happened since. And then around the time my girlfriend moved in with me, this skateboard that she has, it's Karen O of the Yeahs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a girl skateboard. It's a run that Spike Jonze did. We had it on a shelf, on a flat shelf like this, just like how it's on my desk.
Yeah.
And one day I was home and I was just by it. I think I was cleaning or I was walking by it, and it just did this. It just moved ever so slightly.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh, that's weird. And I was just thinking logically, like maybe something happened. And then we were both home and we both saw it move like this, like the same way it moved with me like a couple days earlier. It's never happened since. We haven't had it, like this ever since, but it was the weirdest thing that I've ever seen in my current place.
Yeah, like, dude, the weight of that type of thing. I love people try to explain it away. They're like, oh, the wind. It's like, or the air. It's like, dude, fuck no. That thing weighs like 6 pounds. There's no way that something like that could be moved by air unless it was a massive gust of like tornadic fucking winds.
It was it was like someone was pulling on it just ever so slightly. It was weird. And it shimmied its way across too. Like, and we weren't shaking anything. There was no small earthquake, even though I live in California. We had an earthquake a couple weeks ago. But yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I can't explain it. Like,
how do you feel about the theory that is mostly related to things like gas leaks or old insulation in houses? Do you think there's any validity to that, or do you think that that's just kind of a cop out?
I mean, I think there are things that you just can't explain. You can try and explain it as much as you can. You can blame it on the poison from gas or whatever. Just giving you weird thoughts, giving you hallucinations. I don't know, but and then old house. I mean, you're just describing my place. My place has terrible insulation, and there was a gas leak for years.
Yeah,
that I would come in ever so often, and it was like, it smells like gas in here.
Yeah,
but. No, this thing literally moved. We weren't gas leak poisoned. It literally moved. But yeah, I do think those are cop outs, but at the same time, I can't give you a better explanation either. I don't think there is an explanation. I truly think there are things that we don't know, and we're never going to know until, whatever time comes where we're going to learn things. But that being said, I'm not afraid of ghosts at all. I think the idea could be scary, but at the same time, yet. But I don't think. I don't want to say definitively, but I don't think I could be afraid of something that I don't think can hurt me.
Yeah. Well, I think
you'll see like this thing, like, oh, this thing pulled me. Like, okay, you just got pulled or you just got pushed. Like, you're not being strangled. You're not being stabbed by a disembodied, body with a knife. Like,
yeah, one of the stories that's always stuck out to me, paranormal wise, you mentioned meeting Steve-O earlier.
He's back, but I can still hear you.
Yeah, he told a story about how he almost killed himself one night with cocaine. Like, he had a gigantic pile of cocaine on a table, and he had already been doing some other stuff that night, like huffing basically compressed air and all kinds of nitrous and all kinds of other shit or whatever it was. And he said, like, he had this thought in his head, like he was starting to come down from the rest of the stuff that he had taken. It happened a few hours ago, but he had this thought in his head of, I don't care if I die. And then he was just going to lean down and snort as much cocaine as he could. And as soon as he said that, something violently grabbed his chair, shoved him away, and like spun him a full spin. Ooh. And he tells this story like this was basically his wake up call. He was like, I don't care what anybody says, all throughout my life that happened. And it was like somebody grabbed my chair and said, motherfucker, think again. And that was like his moment where he decided he had to get clean. It's a really crazy story.
I think I heard that story, but I didn't hear that part. I heard about that up until I'm going to do as much and die.
Yeah.
But no, I met him when he was on Celebrity Rehab. That's why Dr. Drew was there. His clinic was right there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, there are things that I don't think anybody can explain, no matter what type of rationale they try to use. But that's why I love watching BuzzFeed Unsolved / now Ghost Files. Do you watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to the live show for the finale in LA, so it was fun. We enjoy watching Ryan and Shane.
Yeah, I like the dynamic between those two, because one guy obviously wants to believe and the other thinks it's complete bullshit, so they make a good pair.
And Ryan grew up like not 15 minutes away from me, so he talks about certain things. I'm like, I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah. Well, that's, people also say that a lot. This is a very typical Joe Rogan type story, but people say a lot like that's what hallucinogens are. It's like breaking down the barriers between this sort of plane where we're limited to our senses, like breaking down the barriers to that other plane of existence, whatever the fuck it is. That's what people say like mushrooms do, and that's what people say like DMT does, and all these different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do that stuff. I can't.
Yeah, never touch the stuff, but like some of the stories that people tell, it's crazy.
I just never. I won't never do that.
Well, there was also a testimonial a few years back, and I swear to God, it's so cliche talking about DMT, but there was a testimonial a few years back where people from all around the world who had never met each other, never corroborated each other's stories, had said that as soon as they did DMT for the first time, they all heard a voice in their head that said, "We're so happy you found this technology." All in different languages, all over the world. People corroborated this story and they had never met before. And that was like, holy shit, that is crazy to me. That actually got me thinking about, Matrix simulation type shit, man, for real. Hearing something like that.
What physicist says, but he says there's a certain percentage of probability that we are in a simulation.
Yeah. And people talk about glitches and different things like that. There was a video recently of someone filming the sky, and things are easy to fake now, but it was literally like somebody was fucking with a brightness slider on the sky. And it was just like, it was getting dark and then it got brighter and then it got darker again. It's like, what the fuck is going on, man? And this was like out in the woods outside of a major city in Australia or something that they were filming.
Like something I would have seen on Slapped Ham.
Yeah, it was like an E-Bombs World quality video. Of course, it's a horrible quality video, but yeah, somebody was like just pointing their camera at the sky and showing that was happening. And I've actually had a similar experience to that too, where when I was a kid, it's like the stupid, you want to see when the light in the fridge goes off. I was like, I'm going to watch as the sky gets darker because it just seems to get dark out of nowhere. I was like 10 years old. And I was just watching the sky and I saw something very similar to that happen. Like it was literally like one notch darker, notch. It was like a fucking digital slider was being adjusted or somebody was using a remote. And then it got brighter all of a sudden and then darker and brighter and darker. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here, man? This is so weird. But nobody believes me when I say that. But when I saw that video recently, I was like, I've seen the same shit when I was really young. I thought I was just young and stupid and I didn't know anything, but I've seen shit that looks just like that.
You think it snows in the fridge when it's closed?
Let me see here. I want to try to find that.
You know what else is funny, Stamp? I don't know if you've been seeing the trend of this, but it was on one of my girlfriend's TikToks recently. And I think there's a thing with humans and just we have the same fears or concerns, no matter how rational or irrational they are.
Yeah.
And this thing on TikTok that she was showing me and then it made me laugh because I was like, I can relate because I've done the same thing. It shows the person walking through their place and turning off the lights behind them as they go and then just going as fast as they could to the light because these black shadow figures are following them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've done the same thing. I've had the same exact thought.
Yeah. And I think when you're in we know that, I forget what the actual medical term for it is. If you are convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have something, there actually is a probability that you can manifest it. I feel like that is a lot of the case with these paranormal experiences and alien UFO sightings and all that shit. Is like people want to see things so badly that they'll manifest it in the experiences and things that they see because they're in like this heightened emotional state. And you're ready to see something paranormal. Yeah, the little bit of shadow moving in the distance, you're probably going to see something where someone else who's maybe in a more rational mindset wouldn't see it. But I do think that I agree with you. I'm not fully skeptic. I've had enough experiences, like I talked about with having a dream of my closet smelling like it was burning, and then waking up at the crack of 3 a.m. and seeing a DVD called "A Perfect Child of Satan" inside the closet. Like that just is something that I've always thought about ever since. Like, why did that happen? I know that subconscious really controls your dreams and what happens in your dreams more than anything else, but I just can't rationalize why that dream would happen.
Yeah. No, yeah. Like there are things that we can't explain, and then how did it end up there, which you asked. But the thing that got me, I think I told my girlfriend this story about your apartment where you thought somebody was in there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And you guys saw shadows underneath
Yeah.
the door. And it wasn't just you. It's just like when me and my girlfriend both saw the skateboard move.
Yeah, it's unexplainable. It's frustrating because nobody believes you. They think that you want clout or something for telling a story. It's like, no, believe me, I didn't want to wake up and think that there was an intruder in my house. Like, that story is one that I think about all the time. And it's funny because I think she was talking about before they left, they lit candles. Well, Bridget did the same thing. My girlfriend, she lit some fucking incense or whatever before we left because she was like, there's some bad energy here. Like, we had a break-in at that apartment and we had that scenario that happened. So there was definitely some bad shit going on there.
All right, Stamp. My dog is getting antsy. I think I gotta cut it short. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, we're having such a good conversation.
No, absolutely not, man. We didn't cut it short. We've been talking for about 3 hours.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, man. I've got your everybody. Drop Blockbuster John a follow for real. This dude is a beast at Street Fighter 6. And as you can tell, he's just a very well-spoken, intelligent dude. Always has some great conversation over there, and it's just a fun time. Always a blast to watch his stream. And dude, thank you so much for coming on and giving me 3 hours of your time to talk. I've had an absolute fucking blast tonight. So I really appreciate it.
It's the least I can do for contributing to the name.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you guys didn't know, he came up with the name of the show, Stamp of Approval. So he was going to be one of the first guests by default because I had to repay, but I had to pay my dues.
I mean, I'd be down to hop on again too to the podcast. That's one thing about me, dude, is I have great ideas. I have great ideas.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, dude, if I could hire you as like a consultant, a podcast marketing consultant of some kind, you'd absolutely fucking kill it, dude. Maybe one day.
You still need, was it Salt to do the theme for you?
Yeah, Salt can do the music if we have, if things pick up in the future and I become the next XQC, definitely real and not a fabrication, by the way.
We'll see you on Kick.
Yeah, dude. Hit me with that $100 million Kick contract. But yeah, man. Like I said, again, appreciate having you on, and I'll be catching your stream the next time you're live, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. See you guys.
What a cool guy. Yeah, seriously. Major fucking shout outs. Drop that dude a follow. That was an awesome conversation. I genuinely, I really enjoyed that. And I just want to say, having guests on the podcast has created a completely new dynamic for me. These are by far the most exciting thing that I've ever done. And having a guest is just something that really lights my fire in terms of recording these episodes. So what can I do? Just continue to compete with Doc to be the Village Schizo. This is our longest episode by far, by the way. Thank you guys. Appreciate it, Dave. Appreciate it, Gummy. And yeah, John, we'll definitely have to set up a part 2. Can I, because you know who you are, can I go ahead and announce who the guest next week is going to be? I'd like to start doing that at the end of the episode so you guys know. You can say no. But I will say, we've already got a guest locked in for next week. Barring, anything else that may come up. That's the guest, Gummy Lotion. Let's fucking go. She's agreed to be on. I'm 100% cool with it, 100% down, and I hope that we can get Josh on soon. So, with that being said, hey, Siren Killer, if you ever want to shoot me a DM and you want to jump on someday, dude, absolutely. I would love to have you on and talk conspiracies. We can talk whatever you want to talk, my dude. Just let me know what Wednesday works for you sometime within the next 3 or 4 Wednesdays, and we'll set something up. So with that being said, appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. If you want to join up to the Discord, there's the link for it. I always announce whenever I go live. I do frequently do horror streams, but I also upload YouTube videos as well. This is going to be available on YouTube in very, very high quality, higher quality than you saw it here. And yeah, I had an absolute blast tonight. I hope you guys did as well. And that being said, let's find somebody to raid. I don't know if John was actually live during that or if he was just jumped on the Discord call, but let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on.